Football, with such strong skills, even nightclubs can produce football kings. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 201. The Champions League begins. Face the strongest team in Group A game day. In the stands of the Parc des Princes, tens of thousands of Paris Saint-Germain fans are already looking forward to it. They are eagerly waiting for this war to begin. After all, for Paris Saint-Germain fans, this team is already in an unsolvable situation in Ligue 1. They have won at home one after another, so much so that Paris Saint-Germain fans disdain French Ligue 1 games. The game is about to begin. Inside the live broadcast room of KingQ.com, the two commentators, Hiwei and Zhanjun, are also already in place. The top four earners in the Premier League versus Paris Saint-Germain, the Ligue 1 hegemon. This first round focused battle of Group A is about to begin. Let's wait and see. In their ascent period, Paris Saint-Germain's state can be said to be. It's quite outstanding. Paris has won 5 consecutive games in Ligue 1 and is in very good shape. However, their opponent Arsenal regrettably lost to Liverpool at home in last week's game. It seems that judging from the state of the game, Paris Saint-Germain is obviously in better shape than its opponents. I believe that tonight's game will be an exciting battle. At this time, Hiwei also said this is indeed the case. Judging from the current personal abilities, the strength of the two teams is very close. Whether it is Paris or Arsenal, they are definitely ready for this game. Let us wait and see. After the commentators finished chatting, they began to officially explain the game. First of all, let me introduce to you the starting lineup of Paris Saint-Germain at home. Head coach Emery chose to field a 4-3-3 formation. The goalkeeper is Arila, 4 defenders Aurier, Marquinhos, Thiago Silva, Maxwell, 3 midfielders Verratti, Krychowiak, Rabiot, 3 forwards Di Maria, Cavani, Matuidi. On Arsenal's side, it's the traditional 4,231. The goalkeeper is Ospina, 4 central defenders Monreal, Koscielny, Marino Staffi, Bellerin, 2 midfielders Cazorla, Ramsey, 3 front courts Chamberlain, Sanchez, Iwobi. The one at the front is Feng. At this moment in the tunnel, Feng participated in the Champions League for the first time, and he faced the powerful Paris Saint-Germain. To be honest, deep in Feng's heart, he was still a little excited and nervous. In addition, this is Feng's first Champions League start. Paris Saint-Germain's lineup is full of powerful stars. Feng knew very well that tonight's game was destined to be extremely difficult. If you want to win, you must go all out. Before the game, the two teams were talking and laughing in the tunnel, and their relationship was pretty good under the leadership of the referee team. The starting players of the two teams stepped onto the court one after another. The war is about to break out. The real test has arrived. For Arsenal, winning at the Parc des Princes is definitely not an easy task. Every player must go all out. Under the cheers of the fans at the scene, the excitement is clearly written on the faces of the Paris Saint-Germain players. Now on the live broadcast room barrage, the Chinese fans also cheered for Feng. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. It's up to you. Feng finally got the chance to start. Feng must not let us down. Although the opponent is very strong, I believe Feng is even stronger. As long as Coach Wenger doesn't let Feng at halftime, Arsenal still has a chance to win the game. Go for it, Feng. Let's fly high in the Champions League. Victory must belong to us, Arsenal. No one else can stop our progress. Break through the Parc des Princes. For the Chinese fans, they are still full of confidence in this game. They firmly believe it when Feng makes his debut. Judging from Arsenal's current state, winning will be easy. Soon after the referee blows his whistle, the game officially begins. The first to kick off was Paris Saint-Germain playing at home. After the game started, Paris Saint-Germain immediately dealt a fatal blow to the opponent. It is undeniable that every player of Paris Saint-Germain tonight is full of confidence. They desperately hope to score as soon as possible. Then in less than 5 minutes, Paris Saint-Germain's players began to launch a fierce attack towards Arsenal's goal. In midfield, Verratti's passing level is quite superb. Although Wenger also focused on Verratti in this game, asking Arsenal's midfielders to stop Verratti's dribbling as quickly as possible, but sadly Verratti's small skills as a player are really outstanding. Between the lightning and flint, Verratti has already made the pass easily moment. The football was like a shooting star, perfectly appearing at the feet of Di Maria on the wing. The latter caught the football. The entire Paris Saint-Germain fans in the stands of the Parc des Princes also became excited. All Paris fans are quite confident in Di Maria's personal abilities. Di Maria is also called an angel. He has excellent crossing and cutting abilities from the wing. His left foot is even more terrifying than Messi. Inside the live broadcast room of Kyoku commentator Hiwei saw Di Maria receiving the football on the right, and his face instantly became nervous. Hiwei quickly shouted hysterically, "We must stop Di Maria's breakthrough. If nothing else happens, Di Maria will definitely choose to cut inside, when necessary. We must foul to stop Di Maria." The words just dropped. Many Arsenal players also rushed towards Di Maria like crazy. Among them are Cazorla and Ramsey. Although the defensive ability of these two players is relatively average, their running is quite active. They got stuck in their positions immediately and did not give their opponents any chance at all. Just like that, Di Maria stopped his progress. The next second, Di Maria quickly passed the football to Cavani in the penalty area with lightning speed. Undeniable. Di Maria's left-footed crossing ability is really outstanding. The football drew a beautiful arc in the air and quickly landed on top of Cavani's head. Good chance. Chapter 202. Fierce attack. Let the goal battle begin. Cavani is Uruguay's striker. There is another super center in the Uruguay national team. His name is Suarez. In the restricted area, Cavani leaps high, although two Arsenal center-backs, Koscielny and Mustafi, interfered with Cavani at this time. It is a pity. Cavani's physical fitness is really explosive. He knocked over the two Arsenal center-backs in the air and then forced a header. A powerful header. Almost no chance is given to the defensive players. The next second, the football quickly appeared in the goal. The time has come to test Arsenal goalkeeper Petr Cech, but, although Cech was already in a good position, he was unable to interfere with Cavani in the first place. The Uruguayan striker's shooting speed was too fast. In a split second the football has appeared perfectly in the goal. When Cech tried to make a save, it was already too late. In this way, Paris Saint-Germain, playing at home, successfully scored within the first 5 minutes 1-0. At this moment, the fans in the entire Parc des Princes arena went completely crazy. Tens of thousands of Paris Saint-Germain fans were shouting Cavani's name hysterically. At this moment, Cavani became the hero of this team. As the team's head coach Emery was equally excited. He kept waving his fists on the sidelines and celebrating the birth of this wonderful goal crazily. And in the live broadcast room the faces of the commentators Hiwei and Zonjun were filled with disappointment. There is no doubt that this was not the result that the two commentators expected to see. The opponent's attack was so fierce that it didn't give Arsenal's defenders any chance to breathe. It seems that Arsenal is destined to be very difficult tonight. As Hiwei said, Arsenal want to beat Paris Saint-Germain tonight, which is definitely not an easy task. Arsenal's bench as the team's head coach, Wenger's face was solemn and his eyes were filled with disappointment. At this moment Wenger began to regret letting Feng start, but just when Wenger had the idea of regret, Arsenal's players suddenly created huge pressure on their opponents. After the restart, Arsenal's players also immediately showed their offensive talent, especially Ramsey. When the football came to Ramsey's feet, many Paris Saint-Germain defensive players immediately rushed towards Ramsey at lightning speed. Verratti plus Krychowiak and Rabiot, three defenders appeared in front of Ramsey at the same time, forming a siege on the Arsenal midfielder. It seems that in today's game, Coach Emery also focused on defense, especially Ramsey's defense can be said to be quite sharp. Almost no chance to pass the ball to Ramsey, but Ramsey did not hesitate at all. He knew very well that the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder wanted to cut off his pass, so Ramsey chose to do the opposite. He simply drove the football towards the front court with his big foot. The more his opponent doesn't let him do anything, Ramsey will do whatever he wants. The main character is a rebel. In an instant football came to the front court in an instant. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. On the right side of the penalty area, without any surprise, Feng successfully caught the football first. After that, it was Feng's personal performance moment in the stands of the Parc des Princes. When the Paris fans at the scene saw Feng, an Asian, receiving the football, they did not hesitate and immediately made effective interference. Among them are two players, Marquinhos and Thiago Silva. The two central defenders reacted very quickly. In a split second the two central defenders suddenly rushed in front of Feng and immediately interfered with Feng. But there is one thing to say, Feng is Feng. After all, his personal ability is also really strong, and he has been stopped and defeated. 3 times 5 divided by 2. The football seemed to be stuck at Su Feng's feet. After suddenly accelerating, he completed the pass with great gratitude, although the two defensive players tried their best and even engaged in physical confrontation with Su Feng, but it's a pity Su Feng still achieved a breakthrough. After all, Su Feng now has Haaland's sprinting ability, although the physical fitness of the two central defenders, Marquinhos and Thiago Silva, is also extremely explosive. But let's be honest, the physical fitness of these two defenders is far from that of Su Feng. The incomprehensible pass leaves the defensive players with no solution. I can only watch Su Feng enter the penalty area of Paris. Once Su Feng dribbled the ball into the penalty area, the fans at the scene immediately became nervous. In the stands of the Parc des Princes, tens of thousands of fans once again booed loudly, but this time, it did not affect Su Feng's progress. On the contrary, Su Feng's speed was obviously faster. Between the lightning and flint, Su Feng raised his foot and shot angrily, although Paris Saint-Germain goalkeeper Areola had quickly made a save. But let's be honest, this goalkeeper just makes a better looking save. Su Feng's shot suddenly flew into the goal. Tian, Areola's save hit the air. The score came to 1-1. Arsenal, playing away from home, quickly equalized the score on side. Every fan feels incredible. They couldn't even believe their eyes, and in the live broadcast room the commentators Anjun cheered with great excitement. Goal! Goal! It's Su Feng again. This is a goal that Su Feng completely relied on his own personal ability to complete. It's really exciting. Paris Saint-Germain's defense seems to have surrendered at this moment. No Paris Saint-Germain player can stop Su Feng's shot. Wei couldn't help but sigh. I really didn't expect that Su Feng would equalize the score so quickly. Now, tonight's game is great. In the stands of the Parc des Princes, most of the Paris Saint-Germain fans held their heads in their hands, and his face was full of disbelief. How can this Asian be so strong? What happened just now? How did this guy accomplish the extraordinary feat? Can neither Marquinhos nor Thiago Silva stop this Asian's breakthrough? What on earth is Areola doing? Why not defend? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 highlights a leisurely. At this moment, the mood of the fans of both teams is like riding a roller coaster. Paris Saint-Germain fans had only been happy for a few minutes when they witnessed their beloved team's goal being scored by an unknown Asian player. They could not sleep and were complaining and cursing. This is your home court. The Arsenal fans had been frustrated for just a few minutes, but now they all had bright smiles on their faces and happily sang the newly composed Su Feng song in the stands. The handsome coach standing on the sidelines couldn't help but be a little surprised. When did Su Feng develop this ability? I didn't notice it during training. Not long ago, Wenger asked his assistant coach to help Su Feng develop a training plan to improve his personal confrontation ability, but he didn't expect that Su Feng would teach him a lesson in this game. This excellent confrontation ability made the opponent's plan of double ghosts come to nothing. Ronaldo was no more than that back then. It seems that Su Feng is indeed the kind of player who can easily surprise people. He cannot be constrained by the requirements of ordinary players. After losing the ball, Paris Saint-Germain's goalkeeper was very unhappy. His two central defenders allowed the opponent's forward to pass too cleanly. As a junior, Areola did not dare to criticize Thiago Silva and Marquinhos, the two Brazilian internationals, and could only vent his anger on football. Take the football out of the net and get ready to take a kick. But he didn't expect that the figure in front of him flashed, and the football in his hand disappeared. Areola took a closer look, but he saw the black-haired young man who had just broken through his fingers, holding the football and running towards the kickoff point in the midfield. I immediately felt provoked. What does this mean? Scoring one goal isn't enough, right? You want to kick off the ball quickly and score a few more, right? Many people were very surprised when they saw Su Feng's operation in the live broadcast room of DQ.com in faraway China. Commentators Anjun couldn't help but sigh. Su Feng showed a very strong fighting spirit. He wants to win a victory at Paris Saint-Germain's home court, very confident. Our domestic players are too. We need this kind of spirit. Wei, who was sitting aside, nodded in agreement. Fight tenaciously and fight until the last moment of the game. He is like the light of Chinese football, guiding the direction for other players. At the same time, as much as Arsenal fans and Chinese people like Su Feng's operation, Paris Saint-Germain players and fans hated. Emery even yelled directly at the players from the sidelines, telling them to stare at Su Feng. Paris Saint-Germain was holding back its energy. preparing to pin down Su Feng. Anyone dares to jump up and down at the Parc des Princes. However, after the restart, according to the coach's intention, Diego Silva, who had deigned to come to watch Su Feng in person, felt deeply suspicious. Why doesn't this guy move? Keep walking. What is the operation? When the ball was passed, the runner didn't just hold the ball and go to the midfield to kick off the ball faster. Is this the same person who just dribbled the ball past me? Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Even a ball came from about 2 or 3 meters in front of Su Feng. Su Feng didn't even run away. It was as if he didn't see him. This also caused Diego Silva's brain to shut down a bit. Of course Su Feng saw it. Causal's pass was in the right direction because it was coming under the opponent's pressure, but the accuracy was a bit lacking. Su Feng predicted that he would definitely not be able to get that ball, as long as it was a 55 ball. Maybe Su Feng would grab it, and that would typically be a 37 ball kick. Su Feng couldn't even get it by sprinting, so why waste that energy? Besides, it is completely inconsistent with his elegant style of play. Although it is important to gain control of the football, the cool style of play cannot be lost for Su Feng. If he sweats after a game, it is a failure. So Su Feng simply didn't move. Emery on the sidelines couldn't understand either. Paris Saint-Germain has many big-name stars, and its usual tactical discipline is relatively loose, but I have never seen such a lazy style like Su Feng. Perhaps only the good old man Wenger can tolerate it. Conceding the ball at home and Su Feng's provocative actions also aroused the anger of Paris Saint-Germain players. Di Maria, who was called Angel because her name had Angel in it, thought to herself that this Asian boy is more pretentious than Ibrahimovic, so why don't you give him some color to show him? Sooner or later they will ride on our heads and shit. So he cheered up and was ready to break through from the wing when he got the ball. The defensive player on this side is Bellerin. He's extremely fast and is not afraid of Di Maria's breakthrough. Just step forward and defend closely. After being passed, he can catch up again. Di Maria, who looks like a goblin, is not a winger known for his speed in defeating opponents. He prefers to rock with layered changes in rhythm. Di Maria first stopped the ball with his left foot, and then immediately moved with his right foot. Bellerin took a step toward the baseline and lost his center of gravity. Di Maria then dunked the ball back, and before Bellerin could adjust his center of gravity, he passed the ball directly and connected with Cavani again. Due to a series of previous actions, this pass was not as accurate as the previous one, but Cavani still relied on his strong body to gain the upper hands in the contest with Koscielny and reached out to shoot first. However, the close shot missed the goal post. The Uruguayan striker's habit of spitting out cakes has also been criticized by fans, but the truth is that Cavani's shooting skills with his left foot are completely incomparable with his right foot. Those outrageous shots are basically kicked with his left foot on the surface. Koscielny was at a disadvantage in the contest with Cavani, but in fact, it was because he was guarding Cavani's right foot and missed Cavani's left foot. Seeing the ball miss, the Parc des Princes also sounded a voice of regret. Paris Saint-Germain launched a fierce offensive, relying on their home advantage to launch a fierce attack on Arsenal's goal. Suddenly, there was a lot of noise and danger in front of the goal. Su Feng, whose own goal was being attacked by Paris Saint-Germain, was still walking slowly at the front, leisurely like a walk on the field, and if it is not in an offside position, Su Feng would even stand still. Paris Saint-Germain fans who are not familiar with Su Feng saw this scene and felt that it was outrageous to open the door for outrageousness. It was extremely outrageous. During this period, Arsenal also gained control of the football several times, but the forward direction was not precise enough and was not within Su Feng's control, and Su Feng did not try to grab it. This caused Paris Saint-Germain's defensive players to relax their vigilance towards Su Feng. At this moment, Paris Saint-Germain made an unsuccessful pass. After defender Monreal got the ball, he made a long pass and fell behind just within Su Feng's control. Su Feng's eyes flashed. The opportunity has come. Chapter 204. If you take one more step, I lose. Seeing that Su Feng had a chance to gain control of football, but Paris central defender, the very experienced Diego Silva, will not let Su Feng get his wish on the surface. He relaxed his surveillance on Su Feng, but that was just a strategy. When Su Feng had a chance to get the football, he immediately followed him. Diego Silva has already made the calculation in his mind. Even if Su Feng could resist him and gain control of the football, he would immediately foul anyway. This places in the midfield, and his compatriot Marquinhos has already retreated and got a yellow card. It is even possible that the referee will only call a foul without even taking out the card. After all, this is also the home court of Paris Saint-Germain, but Diego Silva never expected it. Su Feng didn't even turn around. He turned halfway and launched a volley as Paris Saint-Germain's overall formation pressed forward. Their goalkeeper Areola also raised his position to the edge of the penalty area. Then cooperate with your defensive players in passing the ball. Feng had already caught the Paris Saint-Germain goalkeeper's movement out of the corner of his eye. The moment he saw the ball coming, he had already made a decisive judgment. Direct lob shooting has the greatest benefit. Feng, who has Van Persie's volley shooting skills, can make this lob shot more accurate. Bang! Diego Silva, who knocked down Feng, watched the football draw a strange arc and go straight to his goal. Hijo de puta, Areola said the Spanish national quintessence and quickly ran towards his goal. However, Feng's lob shot had a very high arc but was also very fast. Areola ran back in small steps, but it was too late and he just retreated to the edge of the small penalty area. The ball was already falling rapidly, and he could only take off while retreating, stretching out his right hand high, hoping to prevent the ball from entering the net. However, Areola, who is 1.95 meters tall, found in despair that although he felt that his fingertips had touched the football, he still could not prevent the football from hitting the net. Seeing this scene, the away fan stands behind the goal suddenly boiled, and the shouts that broke out almost knocked off the roof of the Parc des Princes. What a wonderful, amazing goal this is! Arsenal fans who came from afar felt their whole bodies trembling with excitement. Witnessing such a wonderful goal that could go down in the history of football. Do you still need to choose this year's Puskas Award? Feng's goal in the away game helped Arsenal overtake Paris Saint-Germain. Emery looked on from the sidelines and gritted his teeth. Can this goal be scored? Is there any heavenly principle? Are there any laws? Feng's goal instantly wiped out half of the cheers at Paris Saint-Germain's home court. It can be said that how great the expectations are, how great the disappointment is. Just now, Paris Saint-Germain was still besieging Arsenal's goal. In the blink of an eye, that lazy Asian kid actually scored another goal. It's still this kind of world wave, so this luck must be too good. This simply makes the Paris Saint-Germain fans itch with hatred, their eyes turn red with envy, and their hands and feet feel cold with anger. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Diego Silva, who recovered from the shock, saw that he was like a wooden stake not far in front of him. He was not like other players who scored a world wave and ran to the fans to celebrate excitedly. This was the first time he saw a player scoring a world wave, celebrating with his teammates on the spot, and still standing there after celebrating. Losing at home is absolutely unacceptable. Although this is just one of the Champions League group matches, losing this game does not mean that they will not be able to qualify. Due to the limited strength of the other two opponents in the group, Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal are actually mainly competing for the right to qualify for first place in the group. However, Emery knows that Paris Saint-Germain is the dominant player in French Ligue 1. Domestic league champions and cup champions have been dealt a soft hand, and the only place they want to break through is the Champions League. Therefore, it is not only difficult for the fans to accept the team losing at home, but also for the team's senior management. As a result, Paris Saint-Germain can only sink the boat and continue to hold high the offensive banner. Hoping to equalize the score or even take the lead, Arsenal also continued to shrink their formation slightly and looked for opportunities to counterattack. There is no shame in using such tactics in the away game. Paris Saint-Germain continues to lay siege to Arsenal's goal, but it is obvious that Feng being in front also involves a large part of Paris Saint-Germain's attention. He wanted to attack again, but he was afraid that Feng would score another goal. Under this dilemma, the first half of the game was spent. In the second half, the team changed sides and fought again during the halftime break. Emery also adjusted some of his tactics. He asked his defenders to use offside tactics because Feng just came to power. The intelligence that Emery's coaching staff can collect is also very limited, and they really can't figure out Feng's path. Just use the tactic of making an offense. No matter how awesome you are, it's useless if you're offside. Feng's lazy style. Unlike other forwards who are very mobile, they are not always looking for opportunities to counter offside around defenders. He is just like a wooden stake, stuck there, and the tactic of causing offside should be very effective, right? Arsenal didn't make any adjustments to their tactics. They just brought on Walcott and replaced Iwobi for counterattack. It is better to be faster. Wenger is relieved now. Although he has been coaching for so many years and has seen all kinds of players, there are really very few with Feng's style. But as long as it can help the team score goals. After the beginning of the second half, Paris Saint-Germain was still besieging Arsenal's goal. As the overlord of the French Ligue 1, Paris Saint-Germain had no opponents in the league. This also made their offensive routines very skillful. Arsenal wouldn't be able to handle it if they didn't devote most of their forces to defense. However, even if Paris Saint-Germain scores another goal and gets a point in the away game, Wenger is still very satisfied. There was a melee in front of the Arsenal goal, and the players were fighting hard. Every one of the Arsenal fans had their hearts in their throats. Every threatening attack by Paris Saint-Germain felt like a goal. However, when the director switched the camera to Feng in the front court, many Arsenal fans felt their hearts suddenly drop back into their chests. The players were all sweaty and nervous. But Feng looked very relaxed, not sweating at all, and even without hair oil, his hairstyle was still in good condition. I don't know, I thought he came here to watch the ball up close. Chapter 205. Wonderful thoughts. Look at Feng, he is calm, not nervous at all when facing this situation. Feng stood up front and put some pressure on Paris Saint-Germain's defense. Although he is stuck there like a wooden stake, the players of Paris Saint-Germain really don't dare to be careless. But there really isn't much he can do. Even if Arsenal were able to regain control of the football, Paris Saint-Germain's players were very capable of counterattacking. If no mistakes are made, Arsenal's players will have to clear the ball directly out of the sideline, or drive forward with their big feet. Feng's attitude is unheard of and unseen even in Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain is too strong, and when playing against weak teams, the attitudes of some star players will be a little loose. But it didn't reach the level of Feng. Seeing several balls coming from the backcourt, Feng just watched the football go out of the sideline. Even the Paris Saint-Germain fans could hardly stand it anymore. But Feng just scored a fairy ball, which was the gold medal to avoid death. There are Paris Saint-Germain fans trolling Feng on social media. What's going on with that Arsenal striker, that Asian kid? A human-shaped lighthouse? He's the player with the most laid-back attitude I've ever seen, Arsenal fans answered unceremoniously. But he scored 2 of your goals. This attitude is really bad. Scoring a goal just looks like luck, but he scored 2 of your goals. His luck will not last forever. So good, but he scored 2 of your goals. It gave us the lead. It's still on the road. We will win the game by scoring. Let's wait until you score. The Asian boy has already scored 2 goals. Then the PSG fans collapsed on the pitch. Paris Saint-Germain tried their best. However, breaking through dense defense has always been a world-class problem. In addition, Feng's previous operations made the Paris Saint-Germain players very unhappy, which also made their mentality slightly impatient. Several good opportunities were missed as a result. Feng was a little cold in the front court. It is already late September, and Paris has a temperate marine climate, with temperatures ranging from 12 to 20 degrees. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The temperature is even lower at night now. Feng does feel a bit cold if he doesn't run there. However, although his range of activities there was very small, his brain was actually running rapidly. How can you effectively use your skills to not only help the team win the game, but also gain cool points? Feng has just passed. Practice has proved that volleys are still useful for lob shots. After the accuracy has been corrected, it is very accurate. So, what about volley passes? After all, some balls seem to be passed and shot, and it is not easy to distinguish them. If you can take advantage of this loophole in the system, it will be equivalent to gaining 0.5 additional skills for nothing. It is obvious that among Feng's existing skills, Van Persie's volley is the most suitable for obtaining cool value. Naturally, it was born for everyone to take advantage of and develop the full potential of this skill. In the same way, Klinsmann's high-altitude bombing may also be used when heading the ball. The key depends on the distance within which it can be effective. Paris's defensive players had a difficult time in this game. Feng alone has 2 people who need to stay in the backcourt to guard him. Originally he was just a little-known Asian kid, but after scoring 2 goals, he had to be taken seriously by big-name players like him. Diego Silva peeked over and saw Feng squinting his eyes, not knowing what he was doing. He couldn't help but wonder if this Asian boy was asleep, right? Who are these people? At this moment, when Ramsey, the Welsh god of death, and his teammates were fighting for control of the football with the players of Paris Saint-Germain, the opponent's player hooked the football with his foot from behind, and then quickly slowed it down. Passed by a Paris Saint-Germain player who counterattacked. The moment he lost his center of gravity and fell to the ground, he passed the ball. It was Chamberlain who got the ball. Like Walcott, he was a young talent recruited by Wenger from Southampton's youth training. He was a good player with the ball and broke through. Because of his strong body, he was like a ball when breaking through. It's like a small tank. But at this time, Chamberlain received the ball from Ramsey, and he did not break through with the ball like before. but quickly passed a ball forward. This was also what Wenger specifically told during the halftime break. Paris Saint-Germain could not be allowed to foul in Arsenal's half. The price they paid was too small. Arsenal also lost a very good opportunity to counterattack, so before the Paris Saint-Germain players could get on the defense, they had to give the ball away as soon as possible. Feng saw the ball coming towards him and quickly blocked his position. This ball was slightly less powerful because Chamberlain passed it forward in a hurry. The average player will definitely drop back to respond, but Feng didn't want to run any longer and just stuck in position. Not letting Diego Silva behind him go forward to defend, he waited there for the football to slowly roll to his feet. At this time, Paris Saint-Germain's midfielder Polish star Krychowiak arrived, ready to compete with Feng for control of the football. Feng saw the football coming to his side. Use your left heel to stop the football firmly, and at the same time close your right foot, pull it with your toes, and use the opportunity to perform a variant rainbow pass with the ball on top. Neither Krychowiak nor Diego Silva could gain control of the football and could only foul Feng. However, Feng used Haaland's brutal charge at that moment, raising the physical confrontation to the highest level, and remained unmoved under the opponent's deliberate charge. Krychowiak bumped into Feng. His original intention was to get a yellow card, make a tactical foul, and destroy Arsenal's chance to counterattack. However, he did not expect that. He seemed to have hit a reinforced concrete wall. Feng didn't move at all, but he fell to the side. The football fell, and Diego Silva, who had just been pulled by Feng, could not be shaken. At this time, he was ready to use his rich experience to go around and defend. Even if he couldn't grab the football at Feng's feet, he could at least poke it away with his toes. Unexpectedly, Feng twisted his butt and performed another unconventional rainbow trick. Diego Silva is a player with a good temper. Unlike Pepe, defensive players like Ramos have a hot temper and dirty moves. But at this moment he also wanted to curse. At this time, Feng saw the little tiger walk it out of the corner of his eye. He was sparing no effort to rush up, so he volleyed the ball towards the front of Walcott before the ball fell. Chapter 206. Initial results. Walcott was only replaced in the second half and was very energetic. Feng's pass was just right, giving some advance, which allowed Walcott to take full advantage of Walcott's sprint speed. Originally, Brazilian international Mönchengladbach took advantage of his compatriot Diego Silva to deal with Feng and ran back 2 positions ahead of Walcott, but because Feng passed the ball just right, it just didn't let Mönchengladbach touch the ball, and at the same time it was able to pass through the back line of defense. Moreover, the advance amount given by Feng can be said to be very accurate. It happened that Walcott could get control of the football without slowing down, and at the same time ensure that the Paris goalkeeper could not destroy the ball before Walcott. In fact, part of this is because Feng's previous hanging goal prevented Paris Saint-Germain's goalkeeper from standing too far forward. Combining various factors, Walcott broke into the penalty area after taking the ball. However, he did not take credit for the chance of a single goal. He passed the ball across the goal, and Sanchez on the other side made it in one fell swoop. Arsenal leads Paris Saint-Germain 3-1 goal. The 2 commentators in the studio did not care about the neutral stance of commentators, and their tone was full of pride. Arsenal seems to be able to win the away game. Although this goal is not an assist from Feng, the pass just now was crucial. I don't think Paris Saint-Germain's defensive players can guess it. Feng actually made 2 consecutive rainbow passes in different directions on the spot, and the subsequent pass was so accurate, as if it were a scalpel. As the saying goes, if you don't work for 3 years, you will eat for 3 years if you work. Arsenal's goal was completely having stunned Paris Saint-Germain. Emery squatted directly on the side of the court, feeling suspicious of life throughout the Parc des Princes. Paris fans fell into deathly silence, and only Arsenal fans could be heard singing and dancing due to Feng's involvement in this match. There were a lot of Arsenal fans at Paris Saint-Germain's home court. Many Chinese people working and studying in Europe came to the scene to support Feng, wearing an Arsenal jersey and dancing with a 5-star small ball in his hand. Red flag in a daze. I didn't even know whose home field it was. There is not much suspense in the next game. Regarding Paris Saint-Germain, yes, the goal just hit the bottom all of a sudden. It took head coach Emery a while to react. I changed several people in a row. It is also difficult to reverse the decline in the end. Arsenal defeated their opponents in the away game with goals from Feng and Sanchez. Feng was selected as the MVP of this game after Feng and his teammates went to the away fans' stands to pay tribute to the fans who came from afar to support the team. They were surrounded by the media. Long guns and short cannons were aimed at Feng. Excuse me, What did you think when you scored that shocking lob? Why did you shoot from that position? Su Feng was also very candid when facing reporters' questions. It was nearly 50 meters away from the goal, more than 40 meters away. It would be too tiring to take the ball and then shoot. Hearing this, the reporters' faces turned green. Do you think this is human speech? Su Feng, you have a good sense of humor. So about that goal in the second half. You almost made 2 rainbow dribbles in a row. Some Paris Saint-Germain fans questioned that you were humiliating the other team's players. What do you think? I can swear that I definitely didn't mean to humiliate anyone. I was just too lazy to run. Besides, Walcott ran so fast. If he dribbled the ball over, the success rate would be higher. I did that just to wait for him to get in. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The reporters rolled their eyes in unison. It seems that Su Feng is very slick and doesn't speak the truth. It feels aggrieved to see that the reporters don't believe Su Feng. Why is it that no one believes the truth these days? Outside the Parc des Princes, Paris fans left with livid faces one by one, while fans of Arsenal and Su Feng were singing and dancing outside the stadium, and they were all in high spirits, as happy as the Chinese New Year. Reporters also interviewed some Arsenal fans. You ask me what I think of the player Su Feng. He smokes, drinks, dances, and is very lazy on the court, but he is a good player. Su Feng's fans were booing next to him. One of the fans shouted loudly, "Everyone, tell me what Su Feng's hobbies are." "Smoking, drinking, and dancing." "No. Do it again." The reporters were also very speechless. Su Feng, an Asian boy, played so well in the Champions League today. It was born out of nowhere. After all, no matter how well you perform in the league, your popularity is limited, and the attention of the Champions League is definitely much greater than that of the league. But why does it feel so out of place? Let's look at Su Feng's fans. It's also out of tune. There really are just as many fans as there are stars. This round of the Champions League group stage has many games going on at the same time, but none of them has attracted as much attention as Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal. The main reason is the emergence of a non-mainstream player like Su Feng. You could call him lazy, but he can score goals and plan attacks. He is truly a combination of devil and angel. At the press conference after the game, many reporters also focused on Su Feng. Wenger was forced to reiterate it again and again. The post-game press conference only answered questions about the game itself. As for those things about Su Feng, you can just ask him yourself. After playing this Champions League game, the Arsenal team immediately flew back to London. Because there is still a Premier League game to be played in 3 days. Hull City is a relegation team, also known as the Tigers because of the traditional yellow and white ball. We just finished a Champions League game, and many players were very tired. Although he won this game on the road, the consumption was still very high, so Wenger planned to make a certain degree of rotation in this game. After all, Tiger City is not strong. Arsenal fights on multiple fronts, and the head coach needs to make reasonable rotations to maintain combat effectiveness before the Champions League game. Su Feng was somewhat famous, but after this Champions League game, Su Feng suddenly became famous. According to statistics, after the game between Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain, Su Feng's name was searched tens of millions of times on Twitter and Ins. At this time, in French House, a famous bar in London, beautiful reporter Melissa Reddy from Sky Sports was conducting an exclusive interview with Su Feng. I have to say, this bar is really special. In this internet age, it is impossible to access the internet. It's a bar without Wi-Fi. Not only can't access the internet, but it doesn't play music either. Chapter 207. It's all forced by the system. The most outrageous thing is that no one is allowed to use mobile phones. You can only chat here except drinking. When Su Feng received a call from Melissa Reddy to arrange an interview with him, Su Feng wanted to refuse, so he said he was unavailable. Because it was time for him to go to the bar to drink, Melissa invited Su Feng to the French House. The wine here is not cheap either, and does not meet Su Feng's cost-effectiveness requirements at all, because the system is very strict. It doesn't matter whether you drink a royal gift worth hundreds of thousands of dollars a bottle, or a low-quality beer that costs a few dollars a bottle, the added attribute points all the same. So of course Su Feng chose cheap products when drinking. Fortunately, this time Sky Sports is footing the bill. Su Feng was not polite. Su Feng held a wine bottle and said to Melissa, "I just want to use your media channels to explain to the fans. Smoking and drinking are very bad behaviors. Please don't imitate me." Melissa was very curious. "Since you know that these are bad behaviors, why do you still do it?" Su Feng spread his hands and looked very helpless. Just like Balzac couldn't write such world masterpieces as the human comedy and Donkey Skin without drinking coffee, there is a poet in our country named Levi who also couldn't write brilliant poems without drinking. And you can't perform well on the court without drinking. I drink and smoke for the team and the fans. Melissa smiled on the outside, but she was MMP in her heart, and she said in her heart, "Can you talk more? So you show up late, leave early, take a walk on the field and take a walk for the team." But of course, Su Feng said so. Readers will definitely love reading it. Once again, I remind fans, don't follow my example of drinking or smoking. Drinking alcohol is not good for your health. Of course, if you want to practice drinking, I will give you a secret. The following is complex and wide. Drinking must be frequent, but at the same time, the variety must be wide. But at the beginning, if you mix different wines together, you will get drunk very easily. Melissa, quickly stop Su Feng. How can you talk about drinking in an exclusive interview with a football star? Already? As expected of someone who came out of German youth training, then your playing style on the court has always attracted the attention of the fans. Why do you run so little? But you can achieve good results. Su Feng pointed to his head. You have to use your brain to play football. If you run 20,000 kilometers in a game, it is also a blind run. I am allocating my physical energy reasonably. I have to use the key physical energy on the back and handle of the knife, on the scabbard, on the blade. Yes, you still understand me. Melissa was also speechless. She originally thought that as a senior beauty reporter of Sky Sports, she had very rich experience, and she would definitely be interested in Su Feng. This kind of young player has her hand in his hand and leads the rhythm throughout the game, taking advantage of Su Feng's strengths as a result. Su Feng led the whole process. So what you mean is that although you didn't run, you thought about it on the court, right? Yes, our country has a philosophy book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and the English version is called The Art of War. It talks about conspiracy. Determine your position before you act, and strike after you are ready. As the saying goes, the beauty of the art of war lies in one mind. Football tactics can also be applied to the art of war. This book is said to be a must-read at West Point Military Academy. Many politicians in the United States can't put it down. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Melissa, I can't stand it anymore. After talking about wine, I started talking about philosophy, right? Are you a football player? She was used to seeing a bunch of uneducated rough guys, and Melissa almost cried when Su Feng teased her. Let's talk about penalty kicks. Let's not talk about football. Non-fans will not be able to guess what Su Feng does after reading this interview. An old aunt, who is several decades old, is actually being molested by a teenager. No wonder Su Feng doesn't have a girlfriend. This kind of person naturally doesn't understand what it means to cherish a woman's beauty. After the final interview, Melissa read what she had written and found that less than 1/5 was about football. However, Su Feng found that after getting rid of his addiction, his ball control and body coordination skills increased by 0.05. Flirting with girls. No, teasing aunties has this benefit? Wouldn't it be necessary to develop vigorously in the future? Su Feng couldn't help but think that he, a good young man, would be forced by the system to become a scumbag. He couldn't help but look up to the sky and sigh. This is so satisfying. As soon as Su Feng got home, he received a call from his agent Raiola. There are many football agents in LaFanti's agency, and LaFanti regards Su Feng as his direct subordinate, which fully demonstrates how much he values Su Feng. This time Su Feng performed particularly well in the Champions League, which also made Raiola happy with his vision. During the phone call, Raiola told Su Feng, good news, don't say that my agent won't help you. I got an endorsement for you. Richard Mille is going to sign you as the spokesperson for Asia for 3 years, 500,000 euros per year, $500,000. Su Feng was also speechless. It was not like he had never heard of Richard Mille, a luxury watch brand that favors sports. These are more popular among sports stars. It is said that any piece of them costs millions. They are taking the route of luxury goods, and even the endorsement fee for a year cannot afford to buy a watch? That's nonsense. $500,000 is a lot. Establish a good relationship first. If you play well in the future, the price can go up. They also took certain risks, and you are in the Champions League. You played a good game last time, and people are willing to give you this contract. Mainly because of me, I can definitely play well. What's the risk? If they can sign me, they will make a lot of money. Su Feng replied disapprovingly. Are you kidding me? Su Feng is a systematic person. If he can't play well, There won't be any players in the world who can play well. Raiola almost choked when he heard it. If this were applied to ordinary young players, they would already be grateful. Su Feng still didn't appreciate it, and it was too little, saying that he could definitely play well. This was even more impressive than his other client Ibrahimovic. At least Ibrahimovic was at Ajax when he first debuted. Su Feng wasn't as arrogant. Okay, then I'll discuss it with him. After hanging up the phone, Su Feng looked at the text that appeared in the system with satisfaction. It is detected that the host has just finished smoking a cigarette. Endurance plus 0.001. Su Feng couldn't help but sigh. There is a long way to go if he wants to continue to improve his abilities. Chapter 208. Enemy's time flew by and the next game day soon came. This day at the pre-match press conference between Arsenal and Tiger City, Wenger brought Su Feng to attend for the first time. This is also an unspoken rule. Generally, at the pre-game press conference, the head coach will bring a player out, and this player will definitely appear on the starting list. So Su Feng is definitely not included in the rotation. After Wenger answered a few questions, he found that all the reporters' attention was on Su Feng, so he reluctantly ended his topic in a hurry, giving reporters a chance to ask Su Feng questions before attending the first Premier League pre-match press conference. Su Feng had been trained by the official spokesman of the Arsenal club to tell him what he could and could not say, and he must not be tricked into saying anything by reporters. Su Feng finally understood why the words spoken by those stars during interviews seemed to come from someone else. It turned out that they were taught by someone. Su Feng, since you have appeared at the pre-match press conference, it means that you will definitely play in this game against Hull City. Are you confident in leading the team to win? The reporters asked. The problem may seem trivial on the surface, but it has dug a lot of holes. What does it mean to lead the team to win? Su Feng had just arrived, and although he performed well, he would definitely arouse others' disgust if he showed his tendency to be self-centered casually. Just like how many people like Ronaldo, there are as many people who hate Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo's confident and somewhat stinky character played a key role. We are a unit. Under the leadership of the coach, we will take every game seriously. Of course, after playing such a high-intensity game just now, we have to play another high-intensity Premier League game in less than 72 hours. This is indeed it's very difficult, but the coach may send me to start, which is a sign of trust in me. Although playing 2 games in 3 days will be a very severe test for my physical fitness, but no matter what, I will grit my teeth and persevere. After hearing Su Feng's answer, the reporters rolled their eyes in unison. Is it also a very severe test for your physical fitness? You only run 2 more steps on the court than the goalkeeper. What kind of test can there be? With the way you play, it's okay to play 1 game every day. He helped the team score 2 goals in the last game and won the key game against Paris Saint-Germain. The next game will be against. It is very likely that you will start in the Tiger City game again. Can you think that you have established a firm foothold in Arsenal and can play a stable main role? Actually, the victory in the last game was mainly due to myself. Just kidding, haha, it's mainly due to the coach. It's precisely because the coach strategized and won from thousands of miles away that we were able to win against such a powerful opponent. With the coach's inscrutable wisdom, he has a lot of decisions about who should start and who should play as a substitute. I believe the coach has already made a very detailed plan. I just need to devote myself fully to the training and be ready to play at all times. I don't have to consider who will be the main force. The reporter was also depressed and said young players have good tricks, but why is this Su Feng so slippery as a loach? Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. It's no wonder that this flattering person rose to power so quickly. Su Feng, are you serious about your full attendance in training? As far as we know, you are the only one who has been fined by Arsenal for discipline so far. According to incomplete statistics, you have been late for training 6 times, and had to leave early twice. Yes, I did receive the punishment I deserved. I am very ashamed of this, but compared with my previous performance in the German Bundesliga, it was much better at that time. I can be late dozens of times during the season, but now I am only late 6 times. I have made great progress compared to last year. It is okay to say that I am fully committed. The reporters resisted the urge to show their middle fingers to Su Feng. Brother, please save some face. But having said that, Su Feng is really the darling of the media for his interview style. The press officer of Arsenal next to him saw that Su Feng was letting himself go and quickly came over to announce the end of the press conference. Su Feng was rather complacent about this. He also knew that what he said might cause controversy, but black and red are also red. Without traffic, there is no fame. How can you get a huge endorsement contract without fame, like why Richard Mille gives himself 500,000 yuan in endorsement fees a year to beg for money, because he was late for training and left early for training in the team. Although disciplinary punishment is inevitable, fines are inevitable. They have already been fined nearly a month's salary, but there was nothing Su Feng could do. He couldn't give up the attribute bonus brought by arriving late and leaving early, right? At the same time, it is impossible for the team to make an exception for Su Feng. If Su Feng is allowed to arrive late and leave early, what will the other players do? If everyone followed suit, Arsenal wouldn't have to play. Su Feng is very busy every day, drinking, playing ball, smoking, disco, clubbing. Even if he doesn't want to be late and leave early, of course, as a public figure, you should try not to have a negative impact on your fans. Therefore, Su Feng also decided to keep a low profile in the future and try to smoke and drink in private places. The next day, an hour before the game, Arsenal announced their starting lineup. Sure enough, Su Feng was clearly visible. Although the team needs rotation, Arsenal's bench is not as deep as other giant teams, and only Sanchez, Cazorla and others can get a chance to rest. Su Feng felt very sad. Because of the rotation, Wenger replaced the beast. 272.272 is also very uncomfortable. He didn't know why this Asian kid didn't like him when he came to the team. Especially before she dislikes him, she already dislikes him. This made 272 feel deeply humiliated. I haven't disliked you yet, but you already dislike me, especially recently. Su Feng's performance has been quite outstanding, which has made 272 more transparent among the team. Although there is no conflict between the positions of the two people, in terms of ability alone, Wenger feels that if 272 and Su Feng are on the court at the same time, the team's offense will be sharper. But it's obvious that these two people are very difficult to deal with. Although I don't know where the grudge comes from. Two people stood in the tunnel, one in front and one in back. Even the players from the Tiger City next door felt that there was a problem between the two. With such strong murderous intent, those who didn't know it thought that one of them, 272 and Su Feng, was a Tiger City player. At this moment, Su Feng suddenly heard the sound of the system. Chapter 209. It's all about rewards. Ding. The host triggers a time-limited mission. Make 272 fade out of the first team lineup within half a year. Mission reward grudge gift pack 1. Upon hearing this, Su Feng looked at 272 with a murderous look in his eyes. Wenger sent out 272 in this game, which is also very obvious. Tiger City is a weak team. When facing a strong team like Arsenal, it is normal to set up a steel barrel formation. At this time, more creativity is needed. 272 has now entered the end of his career, and his creativity and offensive ability have declined significantly. In addition, his attitude is not positive enough, and he is only slightly better than Su Feng in training, but obviously it can still be used when playing against weak teams, especially after they fought so hard in the last game. It is time for the main players to take a break and get a chance to breathe. This does not take into account the personal grudges between Su Feng and 272. Although Tiger City is a weak team, their lineup is not conservative. Their main lineup is the 433 lineup. 3 forwards were placed directly on the front line. Snodgrass, Hernandez and Diamond. The most important offensive core is Scotsman Snodgrass. Previously, Snodgrass played for Canary Norwich and had a good scoring rate in the championship, which was very impactful. As we all know, playing in the championship requires super physical fitness, and Snodgrass is such a person, with a height of 1.82 meters. But he is very fast and his body is quite strong. His two partners, Hernandez, are Uruguayans. They previously played for Palermo in the Italian league and only moved to Tiger City this season. This guy is also relatively fast, with a height of 1.85 meters, a very strong body, and excellent confrontation ability. Diamond, who plays the role of left winger, is a Norwegian. He is 1.80 meters tall and very fast. 3 players with strong impact were placed directly on the front line. It doesn't look like a relegation team at all in Su Feng's impression. It seems that Hull City is also in the first round of the Premier League. After the British Championship team enters the Premier League, it must be ironclad and change its style of play so that it can stay in the Premier League, but Tiger City has no such awareness. Still using the British Championship style of play. In the English Championship they have relatively strong attacking power, but in the Premier League they are not good enough. However, Wenger still allowed Bellerin to continue playing in this game in order to guard against Tiger City's faster forwards. Watching Arsenal's captain Koscielny and Tiger City's captain Davis exchange team flags and preparing to guess, Su Feng was also racking his brains. How can he get down to 272? If 272 is the opposite player, it is still easy to deal with his teammates. What should we do? Tackle your own teammates. This is too heartbreaking. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Koscielny won and he chose the direction of the goal, which made Tiger City captain Davis very embarrassed, as we all know. Although the teams in the English Championship have a very impactful playing style, their skills are very rough, and they all play high and high. So before the game, Hull City deliberately poured a lot of water on one side of the field in order to curb Arsenal's attack. The idea is that when the game comes, they will choose the goal here. As a result, it was very difficult for Arsenal to attack on the ground in the first half. The ball could not roll in the puddles by the second half. The water was almost dry. Besides, even if they didn't do it, their high-lifting and high-hitting style of play wouldn't be affected much as a result. Su Feng discovered it when he was on the field. Su Feng has watched many Chinese Super League games, so this kind of trick has long been commonplace. So he informed Koscielny at that time. Koscielny didn't know how to crack it. Just listen to Su Feng's lies. This thing also has technology in it. When the referee bounces the coin, if it lands on the top of the flower at the beginning, then it will land on the back of the hand with the highest probability of being the flower, you know. Then Koscielny said. Ni adopted Su Feng's argument and won the guess this time. In fact, Su Feng was just talking nonsense. It was purely a psychological suggestion. Fans, good evening, everyone. I'm Zanjun. I'm Zhang. I just got news from the reporter in front that Su Feng and 272 have a little conflict in the player tunnel. I hope this small episode should not affect Arsenal's 3-point victory against Tiger City today. Director Zhang, what do you think? Hey. Don't underestimate Su Feng. Although he is not old, he has more eyes than all of you combined. It can be seen from his interview after the game. I think 272 may not have the last laugh against Su Feng. Of course, the team must focus on harmony, and it must be straightened out before it can be on the court. Achieve better results. We also hope that Su Feng can get along well with his teammates and play the role our Chinese players in Arsenal. Well, the game is about to begin. Let's first get to know the starting lineups of both sides. Game at the beginning, Tiger City took the lead. Hernandez passed the ball to Snodgrass. Snodgrass passed the ball back to Clucas, then turned around and looked at Arsenal. Running this way, Clucas took control of the ball and passed it to number 7 Miley. The ball didn't even stop. He directly lobbed the ball towards Arsenal's 30 meters area. Long balls may sound backward, but they are a very common style of play in the championship. In the world of football, there are no backward tactics, only ineffective tactics. Erlands and Diamond are relatively strong physically and have high morale. Using this tactic of holding high and attacking high is a way of exploiting strengths and avoiding weaknesses. Arsenal are not the weak opponents that Tiger City encountered in the British Championship. The defensive midfielders composed of Xhaka and Cochrane, who were rotated in this game, have already built a barrier for Arsenal's defense. Both of them are quite tough. First, Xhaka beat Snodgrass in the header. The header was passed to Iwobi. Iwobi took the ball and walked to the wing. After attracting Tiger City midfielder Haddles, a gap was formed in the middle. He immediately passed the ball across 272. As soon as 272 got the ball, he saw that although Walcott was ready to intervene at any time, Tiger City's number 7 was beside him and never left. In front is number 3 Scottish fullback Andrew Robertson. However, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a red figure moving laterally. At this time, he only needed to kick his teammate directly to counter offside and enter the Tiger City penalty area. So as a conditioned reflex, he kicked straight into the ball. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210. CPU Master. After the transmission was completed, I realized that it was Su Feng who was transmitting the message. 272 immediately regretted that he had given Su Feng a kick, such a good kick. Su Feng is already very arrogant now. If his pass allows Su Feng to open the scoring again, then he will have to stand side by side with the sun in the sky. 272's intestines are full of regret. However, Su Feng watched the ball slide past him, pretended to chase it for 2 steps, stopped, turned around and roared at 272, TMD, why are you passing the ball so hard? Do you think I'm Bolt? Can you pass the ball? Your basic skills are not as good as those of the kids on the U10 team, and you still lead the assists list. What kind of bragging is there? 272 almost stopped talking. I'm so angry. This is a bad guy. Let's complain first. Such a good ball. Even disabled people in wheelchairs can catch up. The fans looked at it and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Internal strife. For a time, boos were everywhere. Wenger also frowned on the sidelines. From a professional's perspective, it could be seen that the 272 pass was not a big problem, because Su Feng did start a bit slowly, but the two people played together less often, and there was no tacit understanding between them. It's barely fair. It is not uncommon for two people to have conflicts on the professional court. There are many players who appear in the starting lineup on the same team and can go on for several years without passing the ball to each other. It can only be said that where there are people, there will be rivers and lakes, but sometimes the coach can't help it. Both sides have strong players, and it would be unwise to give up any one. We can see that the relationship between Su Feng and 272 seems to be really problematic. This time the two people passed the ball. They also started to quarrel on the court. Director Zhang, what do you think? Hey, Wenger ruled out today this lineup. In fact, it is just to use the weak team and make a good rotation. But if this 272 is really Su Feng, if there is any contradiction, it may really affect the trend of today's game. I predict that these two people will be replaced. Arsenal can win only after one. If two people had been on the court, it would be difficult to talk about today's game. Fans also had different opinions on the professional comments of the commentators. 272 go to hell. I didn't even settle the score with him last time when I insulted China. Now I am openly bullying Su Feng. Wenger should terminate the contract directly. To be honest, modern football no longer needs people like 272. He is a number 10 player who is more of a classic attacking midfielder. Regardless of whether he has conflicts with Su Feng or not, it is time for him to leave Arsenal. What's wrong with Su Feng's ball? I think it's just a big pass. The fans couldn't help either. Assistant managers, and occasionally a few right-minded clients were sprayed into silence. The good thing about this game is that the opponent is a weak team. Even if there is a small dispute on the court, it should not affect the team's goal of winning. Wenger also secretly made up his mind that if the next game continues like this, he will definitely replace one of them. After Su Feng finished scolding, he felt a little guilty and looked towards the sidelines. What I just acted was indeed a bit clumsy. There is still room for improvement in the acting, but Su Feng also had a strategy. Just now, he was purely disgusted by 272 and affected his mentality. After it affects 272's mentality, it will be easier to start follow-up actions. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The next game was played step by step, although Tiger City fielded an attacking lineup. The continued tactics are also what they are used to in the English Championship, but after all, the gap in team strength was too big, and they were quickly suppressed by Arsenal. The fans suddenly realized that Su Feng today was very unusual. The movement throughout the field was quite positive. It's very different from the lazy playing style before. Does the sun come out on the west today? Could it be that the person playing today is not Su Feng, but Su Feng's brother? As the saying goes, the situation is easy to change, but the nature is hard to change. To believe that Su Feng suddenly became active is better than to believe that the person who just sent a text message asking for money is the real Churchill. Su Feng really worked hard today. But the abacus is also very accurate. What was the reason for being lazy on the court before? In order to get cool value. What is the purpose of getting cool value? It's to change skills. Now as long as I can continue to perform 272. You can also get skill and attribute points, and at the same time, you can eradicate the evil in your eyes and make this insulting clown disappear from the world of football. Killing two birds with one stone. Why not? Wenger looked a little strange on the sidelines at first, but gradually he also felt a little relieved. Could it be that Su Feng has also enlightened now, although a player only needs to be able to help the team? No one in this world is perfect, and no player is perfect. Even Messi has shortcomings in the air. What the coach has to do is to maximize the players' strengths and make use of their strengths and avoid their weaknesses, but the players themselves make up for their shortcomings, which is something the coach would like to see. 272 is very depressed now. This Su Feng was suddenly so active, and many of his moves were quite good. If he didn't pass it on, he would definitely be criticized, but if he did, he would feel uncomfortable. 272 passed the ball back to Xhaka, and Su Feng broke out. Are you blind? I have such a big gap here and you pass it back. Xhaka also helped. Why are you passing it to me? Up, it's still 0-0. We need to win this game. Are you? Aren't you still awake? Su Feng's voice was very loud this time, because this time he was being reasonable, as the saying goes, be confident and confident. 272 was speechless. Now he has become the target of public criticism. Although he did not refute, he secretly made up his mind that I will not tell you. However, due to Tiger City's formation in this game, they had 3 midfielders. When checking out, it was like the 3 midfielders Karukas were in the middle to protect the front of the penalty area. Players number 27 and number 8 can support their fullbacks. At the same time, Snodgrass and number 20 Diamond will also retreat to the wing for protection. Therefore, Tiger City's wing defense can be said to be impregnable. Maybe players from strong teams can attack with their own personal abilities. Obviously, Iwobi and Walcott, who are 2 wide players in this game, are the kind of players who need space to co-locate, rather than players who can use their skills to break through in a small space, not to mention having to face multiple double teams. Even if the fullback assists in a 2-on-3, they don't have an advantage. Therefore, Su Feng gained more space in front. Tiger City also saw that Arsenal's number 11 Ozil and their arrow man Su Feng had a bad relationship. Therefore, Su Feng basically did not get much support, so the defense against Su Feng was relatively loose. In this way, the space created by Su Feng's movement is very obvious, even the fans can see it. Chapter 211. What's wrong with just playing you? 272 insisted on not passing the ball to Su Feng, and soon earned himself a lot of boos. After the game ended, the 2 teams tied at 0-0. During the halftime break, Wenger cursed 272. Even the professor with such a good temper got angry. It can be seen how infuriating 272's performance in the first half was. I don't care what grudges there are between the 2 of you. There's only one purpose on the court, to help the team win. If either of you does this again in the second half, I will replace him, then pack my bag and report to the reserve team. 272 wanted to mess it up, but that was Wenger. After the second half, 272 also held his nose, endured nausea, and passed a ball to Su Feng when he saw a good opportunity. But as a play master, how could Su Feng let go so easily? Why are you passing so high? Do you think I am Yao Ming? How can I grab you when you pass into the crowd? You think I am O'Neal? You're so young and you haven't eaten. Amidst Su Feng's complaints, 272 wanted to explain at first, but Su Feng's acting was too real. I don't know, I thought there was something wrong with 272's passing. Finally he also lost his mind holding the football in the middle of the dead ball. He smashed the football to the ground. He started to curse Su Feng. Wenger saw this and quickly replaced him. Even so, 272 was shown a yellow card by the referee. Looking at Su Feng's dejected figure as 272 was replaced, he couldn't help but feel a trace of pity in his heart. Is this some secret emotion? After all, 272 has also been practicing at Arsenal for 2.5 years. He is a number 10 player who can sing, dance, and, is good at passing and shooting. The game lasted 65 minutes in the second half. Pua Master Su Feng finally performed. 272. This game is finally over. It's so disgusting, I feel good. I kick the ball like shit. I still have such a bad temper. The fans were also happy to see 272 end. In the studio, Zhan Jun smiled and said, okay, now that 272 is off, we can see if Director Zhang's prediction is accurate. I don't guarantee that I will score, but the offense will definitely be much better. Su Feng will still not return to that lazy style in the next game. This game has already been run a lot. It probably broke a record since he started playing professional football. There was no point in going back, and it would be seen that he was deliberately acting. 272, so Su Feng simply maximized his flexible movement. Shortly after 272 came off the field, Su Feng and Sanchez, who came on the bench, had a hitting the wall coordination. The counter offside was successful, on the edge of the penalty area. Without waiting for the Tiger City defenders to come up and block, he directly volleyed through the opponent's goal. After scoring the goal, Su Feng was uncharacteristically sprinting in front of Sanchez. He picked up Sanchez's feet, placed them on his knees, and made a shoe-shining motion and made a provocative gesture towards 272. On the bench, the director quickly captured this shot and gave a close-up shot. Judging from the shape of Su Feng's lips, he seemed to be asking whether he saw it or not. This is called passing. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. 272 angrily smashed all the water bottles and towels in his hands after losing the goal. Tiger City played more openly. They also hoped to see if they could score a goal to equalize the score and get at least 1 point at home, but this will create more loopholes in the defense. In the 77th minute, Feng returned the favor and assisted Sanchez to score another victory in the final stoppage time. Feng followed Haka's cross and header from close range to help Arsenal expand the score to 3-0. Just by looking at the score, one would have thought that Arsenal was overwhelming, but no one expected that the process was actually very tortuous. It seems that Director Zhang's prediction was very successful. Sure enough, it was after 272. Feng helped Arsenal open the goal account, and the whole game played very smoothly. Well, congratulations to Arsenal for another victory. Friends, fans, see you in the next game. This game was originally a mediocre game of abuse. Except for Arsenal fans, no one would pay attention to this game on the internet, but because of the grudge between Feng and 272, this game was very topical. After the game, the fans were still discussing enthusiastically. The performance of 272 in this game is pure war criminal level. He is already a side effect at Arsenal. Who is in favor and who is against? Feng actually performed quite well in this game. I saw a statistic about Feng. I ran more than 9,700 meters in this game, which is the total of the previous 2 games combined. Wukao, Feng was so good in this game? Damn it, if it weren't for 272, Feng would have at least scored a hat-trick. Forget it, I think 272 has no future at Arsenal. I think Arsenal told reporters that it is possible that 272 will be exiled from Wenger's reserve team. What does it count? 272 on the losses in his career at Arsenal. Feng lost a hat-trick. The MVP of this game was given to Xhaka. His performance in the midfield was quite good today, and he was very effective in containing the Tigers several times. Threatened counter-attack. However, the focus of media attention is still Feng. Feng was surrounded by the media when he was about to return to the locker room after attending the fans' meeting with his teammates. Look at the posture of the long spear and short cannon. Feng knew that if he didn't save some information today, it would be difficult to break through the tight encirclement. Feng, why are you so active in this game? I want to correct your statement. I am very active in every game. It's just that sometimes I use my body's movement, and sometimes I use the movement of my mind, even though I am standing there without moving. In fact, I am thinking about how to break the opponent's defense and how to give myself a better chance to shoot. Feng pointed at his temple and said confidently, "Reporter, is this a golden saying for this year? Use your brain to move?" "Master, then why did I use my body to move today? Because I don't want to set a bad example for children who like football, so I reduced the frequency of smoking, so my brain is relatively drowsy today. On such an occasion, it is definitely not suitable to use your mind to move. I also seriously declare here that smoking is harmful to your health. Alcoholism is even more undesirable. Everyone must remember, don't drink and drive, and don't drink while driving." Look at Feng's righteous words. It seems that the reporters don't know what to say. You are a good player who smokes, drinks, and dances. Why are you pretending to be a messenger of justice here? However, the fans like this tone. As long as a player performs well on the court, even if he beats the fans, such as Cantona, even if he smokes and drinks, or even does something like that, such as Maradona, fans will not love them any less, but will think they are character players and like them even more, especially Feng, who looked like a prodigal son turning back. As we all know, a prodigal son is always more popular than a good baby from the beginning. And those who initially show the attributes of a gentleman will be immediately abandoned by the public once they have the slightest stain. Feng's remarks actually won him more fans. Chapter 212. Strong dialogue. Since Feng signed a contract with Lafati, his social media has been managed by Lafati's team. I usually post pictures of training, and post selfies when I win a competition. All are operated by specialized personnel. Feng himself is too lazy to do these things. He knows that a player's social media has both those fanatical fans and some unscrupulous people who come to troll you. It can easily affect your mood, plus it's not your native language. Although now Feng looks decent whether he speaks German or English, he can even speak a few words in French. After all, Arsenal has many French players anyway. Language is very particular about the locale. It's not a very high-end subject. If someone around you often says it, you will naturally learn it. It doesn't pay attention to anything like grammar at all. Anyway, just connect it with the context and take a look at the expressions and movements. Everyone can guess it. Even if there is a problem with the accent, it will not affect the communication, but reading the text on social media is still a bit difficult, so Su Feng's solution was to simply not look at it, whether it's Twitter or Ins. Although Su Feng has an account, he leaves it to a dedicated team to take care of it. As for the domestic area, Raiola is not very familiar with it. So whether Su Feng wants to open something like Weibo or not, it all depends on him. A domestic team contacted Su Feng, but Su Feng was not interested. What does public figure mean? It means always being under the gaze of others, and Su Feng didn't want his privacy to be completely exposed to the eyes of others. He only wanted to expose those he wanted to expose, especially on social media. Once you say the wrong thing, it's easy for someone to make a mistake. It is better to say nothing than to say more, so Su Feng only registered a few Weibo accounts and verified them a little. He usually didn't say anything and only posted a few pictures at most. You won't be caught with pigtails if you post pictures of your hair. Some celebrities are successful because of their profession and expertise, but I always like to talk nonsense in areas that I am not good at. In the end, he was disgusted by the majority of netizens. It is entirely his own fault. For example, in the football world, there is a very well-known former international player who has been completely banned. It can be said that you can't even type his name online. Su Feng is determined to become the top star, surpassing Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, Pelé and Maradona, so he seems to be carefree in his speech, but in fact he is still very cautious and very sensitive. Su Feng wouldn't touch the topic after defeating Tiger City with a big score. Arsenal had one League Cup game to lose. Wenger has already let the reserve team and some youth training players play. Neither the main players nor the substitutes need to participate. They faced nothing but Nottingham Forest, an English Champions League team. Arsenal has never paid much attention to the League Cup. This is mainly because Arsenal's bench is not very strong and the League Cup matches overlap with the Champions League matches. Having to participate in 3 competitions in a short period of time is really overwhelming. So Wenger's strategy is to send out a mixed team of youth teams and reserve teams. It doesn't matter where you can play, if you can reach the semifinals or even the final. By then, I hope I can win the championship and become the main force. The first few rounds are all handled by the youth team and reserve team. This will also allow young talents in the youth team and those in the reserve team to get some practical experience. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Although Nottingham Forest was once a European hegemon, it has been in a state of decline since being relegated from England's top league and has not been able to appear in the top league for many years. Against this kind of team, there is no need to send the main players to play. Arsenal is focusing on preparing for the game against Chelsea in the 6th round of the Premier League. After Chelsea experienced turmoil last season, they also invited the famous Italian coach Conte this season. It even bought Leicester City's main midfielder Conte. Chelsea is also considered the favourite to win the championship this season. Therefore, this game is very important for Arsenal. Chelsea's results last season were not good because of problems in their dressing room. It's not the players' strength. With the additions of Conte and Conte this season, Chelsea's strength has been further improved. This is a stronger lineup than the one Chelsea won the Premier League title last season. Therefore, even if Arsenal sits at the Emirates Stadium, it is not a sure thing. You must have 12 points of energy to deal with it carefully before preparing for this game. Su Feng also took advantage of every opportunity and tried his best to enhance his various attributes. Things in this world are just so weird. Smoking and drinking are things that many men, and even many people, like very much. He was not allowed to smoke or drink, which made him feel uncomfortable all over. But once you force him to smoke or drink, it will make him feel nauseous when he sees tobacco and alcohol. Su Feng is like this every morning. When I wake up, I open the bedside table and light a cigarette without saying a word. Drinking water is even non-existent. Replace it with wine every day. Su Feng's salary at Arsenal is £70,000 per week, including appearance fees and the like. The total of £7,788 is about £80,000 per week. However, personal income tax in England is 45, so in fact, Su Feng received just over 40,000 yuan every week. For ordinary people, being able to get more than £100,000 a month is quite good in China. This salary is equivalent to being able to buy a house in a better location in a second-tier city every month. But Su Feng also spent a lot of money. Other players buy luxury cars, supermodels, and luxury homes. Buy various luxury goods. Su Feng's teammate, Chilean pianist Sanchez, likes to collect various luxury sports cars. Su Feng now lives in an apartment provided by the club, and his car is just a Volvo for transportation, or a second-hand car from unknown owners, with a mileage of more than 10,000. But he smokes and drinks every day, and this alone is a big expense because Su Feng discovered that if he just smoked cheap cigarettes and drank cheap wine, his attributes would increase by 0.01 just like before. However, the more advanced and rare the smoke, the increased attributes will also increase accordingly. The same goes for drinking, so Su Feng spent a lot of money in this area, squandering it all day long. But in order to enhance one's own strength, Su Feng also worked hard to quickly reach the level of a world-class superstar. Someone else was drinking mineral water. Su Feng's mineral water bottle was filled with whiskey. Chapter 213. Spend money like water. However, there is a problem with these foreign wines. They are all colored. Unlike domestic liquor, which is colorless, so Su Feng took a mineral water bottle. When he drank the water, he knew at a glance that what he was drinking was not mineral water. This is mainly because foreign wine, whether it is brandy or whiskey, is placed in the project system, unlike domestic liquor, which is placed in clay pots. The structure of the clay pot is relatively stable and will not have any interaction with the wine, so it can ensure that the liquor remains colorless and transparent. That is to say, some old wines that have been stored for many years will turn slightly yellow. These foreign wines react with the tannins and vanillin in the project barrels, thus changing the color of the wine. In addition, there is no ban on adding certain things to wine abroad. Usually wine merchants will also deliberately adjust the wine to caramel color. This is very unfavorable for Su Feng to bring wine to the training ground to drink, seriously affecting Su Feng's ability to enhance his attributes. After all, Su Feng smokes and drinks just to enhance his various skills, and does not want to create a smoking and drinking persona for himself. But domestic wine is really hard to buy in London, so you can only ask someone to buy it. This also made Su Feng spend money like water. Although his current salary is not low, he really hasn't saved much money. Of course, Su Feng smoked and drank, and his seemingly unhealthy lifestyle habits did not affect Su Feng's condition on the court. This also made the media and fans very curious. Although some players also like to drink, they can also ensure their condition. For example, Leicester City's main forward Vardy is said to have a few cups a few hours before playing, which can actually improve his game state. Of course, the negative example is the famous England star Gascoigne. However, according to a reporter from The Sun, Su Feng drank about a gallon of beer and liquor every day. According to British standards, 1 gallon is approximately 4.5 liters. According to the average strength of the liquor and beer Su Feng drank, it was equivalent to Su Feng's daily intake of nearly 1 liter or more of alcohol. For ordinary people, it would be too much for them. However, Su Feng didn't seem to be affected by anything at all, and he was still lively and energetic every day. The reporter from The Sun speculated that Su Feng's body should have a large number of enzymes that can consume alcohol. That's why he was able to drink so much wine, but he never saw Su Feng drunk. In fact, Su Feng was a little worried at first, drinking so much wine. Will you get lung cancer or liver cancer if you smoke so much? However, when Su Feng passed the transfer physical examination, he knew that he was in very good health and did not have any problems caused by smoking and drinking. It seems that this can be regarded as a plug-in opened by the system for Su Feng. Eliminates the side effects of tobacco and alcohol. However, sometimes Su Feng felt that the system was a little too much to take off his pants and fart, so it would be unnecessary to just make him invincible. Is it tiring to have an increase of 0.01 every day? Boring, but this is how the system stipulates, and Su Feng has to hold back if he doesn't accept it. The other side, 272, was sent to the reserve team by Wenger. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The team is now in good condition, showing good economic status and cohesion. There should not be any disharmony at this time. Even though 272 was previously considered a core player in the Arsenal team, but what makes Su Feng depressed is that he still hasn't been able to get the reward. It seems that he has to wait until 272. He can only get this reward after leaving Arsenal. If we look at the trajectory of parallel time and space, 272 will not leave until Arsenal's contract is exhausted. If Su Feng wants to get the reward as soon as possible, he probably needs to add more firewood after a week's rest. Most of Arsenal's players have regained their fitness. Can play in the home game against Chelsea. However, Wenger plans to determine the framework of the main lineup at the beginning of the season. Therefore, there were no drastic changes in the starting lineup. The tactics used by the team still follow the old routine. The only change is that 272 not only faded out of the main lineup, but also didn't even have to sit on the bench in the studio of a certain online platform. Jun and Zhang He were talking under the guidance of the beautiful host with long legs. This game is quite important for Arsenal. If they can defeat Chelsea in the London derby, they will be able to top the Premier League. What do you think, Director Zhang? Hey, from what we just get judging from the starting lineups of the two teams, Arsenal has a certain advantage. Although Chelsea's lineup is stronger than Arsenal's, Conte has just arrived and has not yet implemented his tactical ideas into the entire ball. Among the team, I am more optimistic about Arsenal winning this game. The fans heard director Zhang's prediction for this game, but the atmosphere became much more lively. Although Zhang was only a goalkeeper when he was a player, his ability to read the game is still quite keen, and he can be said to be a very professional person in football commentary. Feng also got to start in this game. He is still at the front. Walcott is on the right, Sanchez is on the left, behind Feng is Cazorla, and the two defensive midfielders are played by Xhaka and Kirkland. The defense is still the same as before. No one in the five-person group has changed, they are all the same faces. It can be said that this is Arsenal's strongest lineup. On the other side, Chelsea put together a lineup that looked like 433, the goalkeeper is Courtois. Compared with last season, only David Luiz has changed among the four players on the back line. From left to right are Aziz, Piliqueta, David, Luiz, Cahill and Ivanovic in the midfield. Matic, Cesc Fabregas and Conte are naturally in charge. Diego Costa is at the front. Azar and William lined up on the left and right. Compared with Mourinho's previous lineup, this lineup looks like there are only two changes in David, Luiz and Cantor. Everything else is exactly the same at this time. Feng was in the player tunnel looking at Cantor, a young black man standing next to him. I can't help but sigh. Conte was so red and purple in the Premier League last season. This season, Chelsea also poached him from Leicester City. Regardless of the cost, you must know that Cantor always went to Leicester City last season, and it only cost Leicester City $5 million. This deal is simply worth it. It was resold for a price difference of more than 10 times because of Cantor's outstanding performance last season. It was also said that there is no obstacle in the world that cannot be overcome, only Cantor that cannot be overcome. Chapter 214. Defense trained by Italian coach Cantor, who is not troubled by injuries, is really extraordinary. He is very fast, very explosive, and his prediction ability is also very accurate. He can be said to be fast and accurate when he steps forward to intercept. And his skills are not only this, he can also intercept passes. Cantor often directs his teammates to attack him. Find the right opportunity to intercept the opponent's passing route. The combination of the two skills, coupled with his tireless running in very large coverage area, makes him an insurmountable peak in the midfield. But for Feng, Cantor is not the biggest problem, because Chelsea has David Luiz on the back line, a big colander. Feng dared to say that if Mourinho was still at Chelsea, he would definitely not buy David Luiz. David Luiz moved to Chelsea from Paris Saint-Germain this season for £34 million British pounds. This is not his first time joining the Blues. Originally, he was sold to Paris by Chelsea at a record high price. However, the evaluation of such a very experienced and distinctive Brazilian international player in the football circle is very extreme. Some people really like it, some people really hate it. David Luiz is a genius when he performs well, he is an angel. When he makes mistakes, he is a devil. It would be okay if he plays in other positions. The key central defender needs to be very stable. The advantage is that because David Luiz is strong and fast, his frontal interception ability is actually very strong. And because he is Brazilian, his footwork and passing skills are very strong. But as a defensive player, his positional sense is very poor, and his defensive awareness is almost zero. Likes to control the ball and is very easy to play with fire in the back line. So Mourinho immediately sold David Luiz as soon as he returned to Chelsea, and Mourinho said after selling David Luiz that he would not miss David Luiz, which shows how much Mourinho hates this kind of stable central defender. I don't know how much Sisterno likes David Luiz. Just after Mourinho left, he bought David Luiz back. Of course, David Luiz performed well in Paris. After all, his partner in Paris was his Brazilian national team teammate Diego Silva. A person like him who likes to be tackled and easily loses his position needs a stable player like Diego Silva who can wipe his ass to partner him. Now that he returns to Chelsea, he will be the target of Feng's attack. Of course, judging from the starting list before the game, it seemed to be 433, but Feng knew that Conte was a senior fan of three central defenders. Kong Erlang will definitely let David Luiz play as one of the three central defenders free to press forward, while the other two center-backs wipe David Luiz's butt. Coupled with the fact that there is Cantor in front, this combination can be said to be impregnable. However, Feng is still confident that he can take advantage of David Luiz. A big colander is a big colander, even if someone wipes your butt. Feng was in the players' tunnel, staring at the Chelsea players. They finally aroused their dissatisfaction. "Boy, why are you staring at me?" Feng did not look away. "If you don't look at me, how do you know I'm looking at you?" For a moment, David Luiz was speechless. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Boy, be careful during the competition. Su Feng nodded. Don't worry, I will be careful and won't hurt you. Ha ha ha. Both the Arsenal and Chelsea players burst into laughter. David Luiz wanted to criticize Su Feng, but his language skills were not as good as Su Feng's, and his words were not as concise as Su Feng's words. You want to say that Su Feng was cursing, but literally, he was not. It was just subtext, so David Luiz could only lament that young people today are so impolite. The players filed out of the tunnel. Pick the edge, kick off, and the game officially begins at this time, as expected by Su Feng, although the starting list looked like a 433 lineup. In fact, Chelsea still put up a 32,311 formation. I have to say that Conte is still good at tactics. 3 center-backs, 2 wing-backs, 2 defensive midfielders, 3 attacking midfielders, 1 versatile midfielder and 1 forward. The tactics and responsibilities each player needs to perform are quite complex, but once the running in is successful, the tactical effect will be very gratifying. At present, no one in the entire Premier League plays with 3 defenders. Arsenal are really not used to this kind of lineup. The advantages of this 3-back lineup are very obvious, especially the third position assigned by Conte. Very strong in frontal defense and the midfield. Cantor began to harass the player holding the ball, and there is Matic beside him. Although the Serbian has average speed, he chooses positions very well. The blocking position is particularly precise. He gets stuck in the road, forcing the player holding the ball to go around. This gave Kate the opportunity to steal the ball. Even if you can pass these 2 levels, there will be David Luiz behind him, so we can only take the side road. But apart from Azpilicueta, Chelsea's 3 central defenders, Cassirer and David Luiz, are all very tall. There is no threat when crossing from the wing. Arsenal's front court is dominated by small men. Walcott and Sanchez are both about 1.7 meters tall, and Cazorla's header ability is also average. It is not easy to accurately find Su Feng in the crowd, not to mention that Su Feng is the only one with obvious header strength. It makes no sense for Chelsea to not defend closely. Su Feng is in front, surrounded by everything blue, alone surrounded by 4 Chelsea defenders. From other people's perspective, it was difficult for Su Feng to connect with his teammates' passes, not to mention what he wanted to do. Sure enough, at the beginning of the game, Su Feng didn't even touch the ball in front, and the ball passed forward was basically intercepted by Matic and Cantor, especially Su Feng, who was in front and didn't run very much. Zunjun Su Feng didn't run again in this game. It seems that the last game was just a flash in the pan. Hey. In my opinion, Su Feng is a player who likes to use his brain. Just because he doesn't run doesn't mean he's lazy. I am just looking for the opponent's loopholes to make my running more efficient. Then let's wait and see. The Conte's lineup is really impeccable in terms of defense. This is an Italian coach after all. Trained reinforced concrete defense. Su Feng stood in front for a few minutes and didn't touch the ball very much, but he also found his own way to break the game. It's obvious that Chelsea players take great care of Su Feng. Chapter 215. A little plan. In fact, Su Feng stood alone in front and was helpless. He couldn't even get the ball from his teammates. There were still defensive players who defended Su Feng from time to time. But even so, Su Feng still came up with a solution to the problem. Arsenal's lineup originally worked well together, but after Su Feng came this season, 272 was inexplicably dropped from the starting lineup. Therefore, with the addition of Su Feng in the front court, the coordination of the entire front court needs to be realigned. Facing Chelsea's impregnable defense, there didn't seem to be many ways to do it. Several times I tried to play exquisite coordination, but fell short. In particular, Cantor is a very thief. He first comes over to interfere, and then waits until the center of gravity of the player holding the ball is a little unstable before making a steal. This greatly increases Cantor's steal success rate. The young man looks rather simple and honest, but in fact he has a very good mind and is very smart. Chelsea's offense relies more on Diego Costa and Hazard in front. Diego Costa can be called the most classic center troublemaker, standing in front and making Arsenal's 2 center-backs Mustafi and Koscielny uneasy. The center will only fight if he has the ball in front of him. Diego Costa will deliberately raise his body to fight whether he has the ball or not. This made Mustafi and Koscielny quite tired. Hazard's ability to break through with the ball and control the ball is so strong that once the ball reaches his feet, it is extremely difficult for Arsenal players to grab it. Azar is not tall, and his butt is very upturned, which makes his center of gravity very low and very stable. Strong glutes and well-developed thigh muscles also make him explosive. It can be said that except for the fact that Hazard's shooting at his peak was not as good as Messi's, there was not much difference. There were these 2 people stirring things up in front, while William was attacking repeatedly on the other side. Not to mention that Arsenal wanted to quickly open up the situation at home. It even felt a bit difficult to deal with it defensively. The 8th minute of the game, Hazard used his exquisite dribbling skills to break through on the left, and after making Monreal unable to find his way, he took a half-high ball and sent the ball into the penalty area. Diego Costa, with Mustafi hanging on his body, still shot first, but luckily it was confiscated by Cech, who was very focused. Cech, who was holding the ball, originally wanted to launch a fast break, but there were many Chelsea players in the front court, and he had no place to pass the ball. Players on your own side are too close to the opponent's players. After passing the ball, they can easily be grabbed by the opponent, forming a good shooting opportunity. In desperation, Cech could only drive the ball forward with a big kick. Feng, who had been standing motionless like a statue, suddenly moved like a rabbit when he saw the ball coming this way. David Luiz followed immediately. Feng judged the ball's landing point and locked the position in advance, but David Luiz would not let Feng succeed easily and immediately rushed forward to fight. After a fight, David Luiz used his strong body to squeeze Feng away. At this time, the ball also flew into position. David Luiz jumped up complacently and shook his head. He didn't notice that Feng immediately ran towards the landing point of his header. This is Feng's strategy. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. It would be difficult for Feng to grab the first point. The central defender's body is quite strong. Whether it is a ground confrontation or an aerial confrontation, Feng is no match. First of all, everyone's tonnage is not of the same level. No matter whether Feng faces David Luiz or Cahill, he can't get any advantage. Even as Azpilicueta is enough for Feng to eat. Although Feng has Klinsmann's bomber skills, if you can't grab it or top it, you can't use it. What's more, the ball is not within the range of a header and has not yet entered the penalty area. Even if Bierhoff comes, he wouldn't dare to attack the goal with a header from outside the penalty area, so Feng had a foresight. If he didn't grab the first point, he wouldn't be able to grab it anyway. Feng planned to use his excellent prediction ability to grab the second point just now. Feng also deliberately stood a little forward when he was stuck. That place is actually not the exact landing point of the ball, but when David Luiz saw Feng there, he naturally didn't think much about it, thinking that was where the ball would land. Comfortable, not accurate enough. Sure enough, all this was entirely within Feng's calculations. After David Luiz headed the ball, Feng immediately ran towards the second point. Originally David Luiz wanted to tip the ball to teammate Azpilicueta. However, due to being tricked by Feng, he made a mistake in his judgment. After jumping up, he could only hit the middle and lower part of the ball, not enough power. Therefore, Azpilicueta had to run up and compete with Feng for control of the football. Azpilicueta ran up passively, but Feng ran first, so he had the upper hand. When the two were about to reach their landing point, Feng took a big step forward with his left foot, and at the same time, he turned his body 180 degrees, stuck his butt out, and blocked his position to prevent Azpilicueta from coming over. After the ball fell, he hooked the ball with the outside of his foot and made a pass. Then Feng deviated and tried to pass Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta is very experienced. This is a counter-attack opportunity for Arsenal that is not a counter-attack. Chelsea only have a few defensive players on their side. Once Feng takes the ball and rushes into the penalty area, it will be very dangerous. So he made up his mind to either stay or stay. Since Feng lifted the ball over his head and beyond Azpilicueta's control, he had no choice but to commit a foul anyway. This position is still a few meters away from the penalty area, and it is relatively biased. At most, it can only be a tactical free kick. In terms of set kicks, especially those that can only serve tactical free kicks, Chelsea has the advantage. They have a lot of good headers and tall players. Arsenal players are generally undersized and do not rely on headers to score goals, so Azpilicueta reached out his hand decisively. However, Azpilicueta's fingers grabbed Feng's jersey, but failed to grasp it and slipped away. Azpilicueta felt the smoothness on his fingers and was a little doubtful about life. What is going on? At this time, Feng had stopped the ball and rushed in like the wind. Want to stop me? Just dream. Feng's hair, which was oiled, shone under the light. He just put the hair oil on his head and put it on his jersey. Chapter 216. Calculation. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Big update. At this time, Feng's eyes were clear. He has to face the young Belgian goalkeeper Courtois. Courtois is the leader among the new generation of goalkeepers emerging in world football. Chelsea even sent Cech away for him. However, he is indeed very strong. When he was on loan at Atletico Madrid, he helped the team reach the Champions League final. When he was at Chelsea, He also won the Premier League Championship and the League Cup Championship with the team. This is a world-class goalkeeper who is technically impeccable. He is 1.99 meters tall, but he is not bulky and his reaction speed is very fast, and there is also a kick that can help the team calmly resolve the opponent's high press. At this time, Feng dribbled the ball into the penalty area. Courtois did not panic. He always followed Feng's movements and adjusted his position to keep his body perpendicular to the ball, and Courtois did not use crossed legs when moving, but used sliding steps to adjust, so as to maintain the stability of his body. Although Feng can now be regarded as a single-handed ball, the angle is relatively small and there is not much room for choice if facing other goalkeepers. Feng can directly push the far corner, but Feng knows that Courtois' goal line skills are very good. Unlike some goalkeepers who rely entirely on their hands to save, Courtois' split-leg skills are on par with Manchester United goalkeeper De Gea. The split-leg technique is also called the half-split kneeling block. This saving action, nicknamed Guanyin sitting lotus by domestic fans, may seem simple, but it actually has a lot of tricks because it's not just about sitting down. Split-leg technique, the functions of the two legs are different. One is the support leg. The knee is bent perpendicular to the ground, while the other leg is the blocking leg. It needs to be straightened and the soles of the feet are stretched to expand your defensive area. When using this technique, the goalkeeper needs to determine the direction of the opponent's shot. If you can't judge the direction correctly, even if you use this split-leg technique, you won't be able to block the ball with your feet, and Courtois can be said to be one of the goalkeepers in the world who is best at using this technique, no less than De Gea, but it's even harder if you hit the near corner. The best angle is to kick into the upper corner of the goalpost. This position is difficult for the goalkeeper to defend, but the angle is too small, requiring the shooter to not only have strength but also skill. In his impression, Feng has seen seniors of the national football team. Yang Chang, who once played for Frankfurt, scored such a goal. He scored such a goal from a small angle in the last round of the German Bundesliga. It was extremely powerful, and it was a goalkeeper. The top of his head flew into the net, but even if you have such skills with this kind of ball, you still need a certain amount of luck. But now that Feng is facing such a good opportunity, he needs to hit the ball more confidently. In fact, Azpilicueta has already caught up from behind. Azpilicueta, who is a full-back, is very fast. Even though his absolute speed is not as fast as Feng, one is dribbling the ball and the other is running in the air. Even the best Messi and Kaká are slower when dribbling the ball than when they are running on empty. Not to mention Feng. So in the flash of lightning, Feng dunked the ball. Wenger curled his lips unconsciously after seeing this action. It could be seen from his micro-expression that he was still dissatisfied with Yazan's handling of the action. As a coach in the studio, Zhang Jun was also anxious and shouted out, "Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels." Shoot, it's a dunk. However, Feng dunked the ball in the opposite direction, and after avoiding Azpilicueta, who was catching up from behind, he immediately volleyed. The whole movement looked very smooth and powerful, going straight to the upper corner of the far corner of the goal, which was a 10-point corner. Courtois reacted very quickly. When he saw Feng shooting, he immediately used his opposite leg to exert force and stretched his hand towards the football with the same side. This action is beyond reproach. The force exerted by the opposite side leg ensures the time Courtois stays in the air and the distance he can slide. He can also extend his hand on the same side to expand his defensive area to the maximum extent. In terms of goalkeeper skills, he has reached the extreme. Courtois, who is nearly 2 meters tall, has a much larger defensive area than ordinary goalkeepers. However, Feng's kick was so powerful that it flew over before Kirchhoff's fingertips touched the football, hit the goalpost and bounced into the net. Courtois fell to the ground, feeling indescribable frustration. He felt that his glove seemed to have touched the football a little bit. The tips of my index and middle fingers are now numb and painful, which is evidence of this. It's just that the force of this shot is too great. It only touches it a little bit, but there is no way to push the ball out of the goal range. Arsenal led Chelsea 1-0 with Feng's goals. On Jun, who was extremely anxious just now, immediately shouted happily, "Beautiful. The angle and power of this goal are great. Even Courtois is helpless." I thought Feng would waste an excellent opportunity, but unexpectedly he turned around and scored an extremely beautiful goal. "Hey, there's something about this ball." "Oh? Director Zhang, what's your opinion?" "You'll know in slow motion." At this time, Arsenal's players rushed up to celebrate with 1, 2, and 3. At this time, the slow motion of the goal just scored was also played on the big screen. When Feng dunked the ball back, he pressed the ball with the instep of his left foot. This changed the trajectory of the ball. At the same time, It puts downward pressure on football after Su Feng's feet left the ball. The football bounced slightly on the lawn. Su Feng took advantage of this slight bounce to launch a volley. This kind of ball has greater force and faster speed than simply kicking it to the ground. Because it reduces friction with the turf, the fans couldn't help but marvel. Su Feng is really too detailed. If it were not handled this way, judging from Courtois' save just now, Su Feng's kick to the far corner may not be able to break Courtois' 10-finger barrier. Sure enough, every move of a powerful star has his intention and details are king. Suddenly, in the studio, Zhang Jun and Zhang He were flooding with flattery and netizens also expressed their admiration. However, Su Feng, who had just celebrated his goal on the spot, just wanted to activate it through this method. It's just a volley skill so that your shots can be more accurate. Otherwise, Su Feng wouldn't have done so many actions. Conte was furious on the sidelines, shouting incomprehensible words, but the Arsenal side was full of joy. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217. Watching the ball up close under the leadership of Conte, this Chelsea team has not yet fully integrated. Now we are 0-1 behind again in the away game, so we have to stick our head out of the turtle shell. Plan to step up the offensive and equalize the score. Even if it is an away game, Chelsea must get at least 1 point no matter what to satisfy Conte. And just after Su Feng scored a goal, his actions also made Chelsea's defensive players throw foul shots. You have to be on guard against Su Feng. He doesn't move there, so it feels like he's doing useless work. Su Feng stood there motionless. He was not embarrassed, but the Chelsea players could not stand still with Su Feng. I feel a little cold after standing still for a long time, but you didn't expect him to have seen it just now. Just give it a little sunshine and it will be bright. Give it a little color and you will open a dying workshop. If heavy troops have to be invested in defending Su Feng, then the personnel invested in the offense will not be enough, and they can only rely more on Hazard's organizational ability. But Arsenal, who have more people in defense, can also use zone defense to prevent the connection between Hazard and Diego Costa. Chelsea switched to attack and played for about 10 minutes, but the effect was not very good and they invested heavily in Su Feng, which also provided Sanchez and Walcott with a lot of space. Su Feng may not necessarily need to dribble the ball himself. Sometimes after getting the ball, he can directly hand it to Sanchez and Walcott, who are unmarked, which can pose a very big threat to Chelsea's defense. If Walcott hadn't spit out the cake, Su Feng would have received another assist. 5 minutes later the shot was shot from close range, but Courtois miraculously saved it like a divine help. Seeing Courtois' extreme save, everyone realized that it was not that easy to break Courtois' goal. Walcott was very sorry, but Su Feng didn't care. There was no assist award in his contract anyway. It doesn't matter whether I got an assist or not, I just got some money. There are prizes for scoring goals. Su Feng will receive a reward of £5,000 for every goal he scores for Arsenal, and if he scores 15 goals in a single season, there will be a reward of £300,000. Chelsea, on both ends, did not dare to attack after experiencing another dangerous situation in front of the goal, but they were unwilling to suffer a defeat in the away game. Some players want to attack, but some players dare not step forward for fear of being counterattacked by Arsenal. So under this situation, Chelsea played awkwardly in the first half, but Arsenal played to their strengths. The fight was booming. Of course, Su Feng's performance in the first half, other than scoring a goal, was also amazing, but the players were quite overwhelmed by Su Feng because after Su Feng scored that goal, he used more passes to help the team. There was no way that ball had exposed Su Feng. After that, David Luiz and Azpilicueta were like triplets, staring at Su Feng. Even if Su Feng is very good now, there is no way he can still do it when others are stalking him. Breakthroughs were made calmly many times. At this stage, Su Feng is also looking for opportunities. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. It is true that David Luiz is prone to mental lapses, but after losing the goal, David Luiz and Su Feng were on the same page. Coupled with the fact that there is Azpilicueta next to him, the possibility of two people going on a business trip at the same time is too low. So after Su Feng got the ball, he even chose to control the ball, which was a bit redundant. He just kicked the ball. This is quite in line with Su Feng's characteristics of health-preserving football. However, Su Feng mostly uses the advanced passing method when passing the ball. And it's still the kind of person who finds the opponent's limit to pass the ball. There are two types of passes. One is to pass the ball from the foot, and the other is to give an advance. Make it easier for your teammates to move, but Su Feng's advance was just enough to hold his teammates back. If teammates don't sprint to get the ball, they probably won't get it. Although Su Feng always makes vertical offensive passes. But it's a bit overwhelming for my teammates to keep sprinting like this, so Walcott and Sanchez feel like playing with Su Feng. I was really a little tired and couldn't rest for a while. I always felt like Su Feng was throwing a frisbee, and I was like a dog, chasing the frisbee. When returning to the locker room at halftime, Sanchez quickly found Su Feng. "Brother, can you not be so extreme when passing the ball? Occasionally pass the ball under your feet and control it. After all, we are leading now. There is no need to be so aggressive. It's only the first half, and I feel like my lungs are on fire while running. You're not the only one who wants to be cool. I want to be cool too." Walcott also came over and said, "Yes, everyone needs to be cool. If you are cool together, everyone is cool, then you are really cool." Su Feng also had a dark look on his face. "The two of you are talking about crosstalk. If you don't run away and I don't run away, where can I find a happy life? You two have to make up for me not running away, but you can't say this clearly." So CPU Master Su Feng came online again. "I have completed the task of scoring goals today. What about you? I deliberately gave you a chance to perform and gave up my chance to score more goals. Such a big sacrifice and such good intentions, but you can't understand it. It's all said and done." It's tears. Sanchez and Walcott looked at each other. "You speak better than I play the piano. I'm really wrong on you. Brother, don't be wronged in the second half. You can score more goals. We are willing to help you win the top scorer this season." Su Feng heard this, couldn't help but take another look at Sanchez. Damn it, this guy is actually a Tai Chi master. But having said that, the way Su Feng passes the ball is indeed a bit overwhelming for his teammates. According to a survey conducted by the German Kicker magazine, generally speaking, a player should sprint 7 to 8 times on average in a game. In the first half, Su Feng allowed Walcott and Sanchez to sprint 6 and 7 times respectively. More than 80 was completed in half the time. It really made Walcott and Sanchez a bit overwhelmed. The key point is that Su Feng is very shameless. If someone else passes him a pass with a relatively large advance, Su Feng will not run at all, just pretend to chase after 2 steps, and then spit. Raise your tambourine to applaud, and give your teammates a thumbs up to indicate a good pass. Then slowly run back. Where does he look like a teenager? Just like a veteran in his 30s. Giroud, who sat on the bench for the entire first half, said that this young Asian man is very oily and experienced. No wonder those defenders couldn't beat Su Feng. Defenders with rich experience have never met Su Feng's opponents. Therefore, their rich experience will have the opposite effect. This is the uniqueness of Su Feng. Because you never guess what he will do. Chapter 218. Quiet as a virgin. You think he's going to attack, but he's standing there as if he's grown on the ground. You think he won't run, but suddenly he moves. So when I was defending Su Feng, I was extremely nervous. As we all know, having a nervous breakdown is extremely taxing on physical and mental energy, and can make people feel very tired. At this time, in the Chelsea dressing room, Feng was staring at the tactical board with saliva sputtering and talking clearly. The doctors and masseurs from the team below are massaging Cahill, Azpilicueta and David Luiz respectively. Do you understand? My tactics are to win. If you fail to win this game, it's because you don't follow my tactics. Diego Costa, sitting in the front row, wiped away the spray sprayed on his face by Cohen's saliva. I thought that this guy is too shameless, no less than the Su Feng on the opposite side. Will fighting again in the second half, Arsenal did not make any adjustments to their tactics. It was obvious that Wenger was very satisfied with the performance in the first half. There is no criticism of Su Feng's way of playing football, which is as quiet as a virgin at one moment and as active as a rabbit on the other. At this time, Wenger has passed his 60s, and he is the kind of person who has seen and eaten everything in world football. Wenger remains tolerant of Su Feng's slightly alternative way of playing football. Although Wenger hates Mourinho, he also agrees with what Mourinho said at the European coach training course. A coach doesn't need to teach a star how to play football. It's about teaching the stars how to play within the team's tactics. Su Feng's way of playing is obviously his personal style, which is not something Wenger needs to correct. It's just that Sanchez consumed a lot in the first half. After exchanging opinions, Wenger said that he would consider replacing Sanchez with Iwobi almost after 60 minutes. Iwobi is young and not a solid starter. This kind of substitute player is eager to come on. No matter how much you ask him to run, he is willing to do so. More suitable for Su Feng's passing style on the Chelsea side, Feng was stunned and replaced a Brazilian Willian, who was somewhat mediocre in the first half. Chelsea were attacking for most of their game. William lacked space for him to gallop, which leaves no room for his impact, so Conte replaced Pedro, who just joined the team last season. The purpose of this substitution tactic is very obvious. William is a right-footed right winger. He mostly chooses to cross to help the team after getting down, and wants to attack on his own. The angles from which to shoot are limited. Moreover, his free kick skills currently have no room in the team. After all, Cesc Fabregas also had a free kick. Al can also take penalty kicks, and Pedro, who came on as a substitute, is even more of a free kicker, so he is not irreplaceable, and if Pedro plays this position, he will have more offensive options for a long time. Fans thought that Pedro was a left-footed player, and in some football games, Pedro's left foot was set as his dominant foot, but during an interview with a reporter, everyone learned that Pedro's right foot was his dominant foot. It can be said that Pedro is the world's top player in terms of balance with both feet. Even the famous two-footed Ronaldo is worse than Pizarro. After all, Pedro is a monster who can take free kicks with both feet. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Therefore, Pedro plays the winger position on the right. Not only can he pass from the bottom, but he can also cut in and shoot to threaten Arsenal's goal. Since then, there have been many more tactical options, making Arsenal's defense even more difficult to defend against. After the start of the second half, Feng found that Chelsea's tactics had changed a lot. Conte had been in the midfield before. The main function of the side closer to Arsenal is to intercept passes from the Arsenal midfielder. However, Cantor returned after the second half, including Matic also returned to the defensive midfielder position. Stuck in the middle now, it has become a situation where Feng is sandwiched by Matic, Kent and David Luiz, with Cassirer and Azpilicueta behind, ready to fill in at any time. Feng was completely isolated, just like Ren Wuxing, who is imprisoned in the Mizhuang dungeon. There were people guarding him from all directions. It seems that Conte intends to hand over the offense to Hazard, Fabregas, Pedro and Diego Costa, rather than purely relying on numbers to coordinate. Relying entirely on the flash of stars, I have to say that this approach is still very smart. After all, it has not been very long since he came to Chelsea, and the tactical adjustment is not perfect. It is still relatively difficult to tear through Arsenal's defense with cooperation. It's better to be simple and crude. Arsenal's defensive players themselves cannot be said to be the world's top players, but the combination of Hazard and Diego Costa is enough to destroy most defenses in the world, not to mention the addition of Cesc Fabregas and Pedro. Feng saw that this was a personal grudge. He defends himself so tightly. Are you afraid that you will catch a cold, so you sent so many people to protect yourself? Feng didn't care. There were so many people surrounding him, which meant that other teammates had more opportunities, as long as the team could win. Feng can be regarded as making a strategic contribution. After all, playing football is about winning. Get points, don't be shabby. After the start of the second half, although Arsenal was the first to kick off, control of the football soon passed to Chelsea, who then used their good ball control skills to launch a fierce attack on Arsenal's goal. Suddenly the ball was flying around in front of the Arsenal goal. Every ball feels threatening. The Arsenal fans watching were all on tenterhooks. Then the director very keenly found Feng on the other side. He saw Feng squatting on the lawn. And it's still an Asian squad. It looks like fans coming to the stadium to watch the game up close. If there is another piece of foxtail grass in the mouth, it will be more like its Serbian. Matic, who was standing next to him, glanced at Feng with a watery face. Does this thing really need so many people to defend it? In his mind, he has equated Feng with a kind of player who is a ball king, but without the ball at his feet, he is just an amateur player. As we all know, a player's movement without the ball is very important, especially for offensive players. Just like Inzaghi. When Inzaghi was young, he would also break through with the ball. Later I found out that it was of no use. It was better to just kick him inside the penalty area. It's just a goal anyway, why make it so complicated? Chapter 219. He committed a foul. Flexible movement will put you in an open position or a more advantageous position when shooting and passing. The quality of shooting and passing with players around to prevent interference and without defensive players can be said to be completely different, especially at a relatively far position. When shooting, if the defensive player touches you slightly and affects your balance, the accuracy of the kicked ball will be farther away the longer the distance. Therefore, players like Feng who do not move are completely paper tigers and Matic's eyes to deal with him. As long as you don't let him get the ball, it will be over. Why do you need so many people? The goal conceded in the first half was entirely due to David Luiz, who failed to control the ball during the confrontation. Matic feels that he can handle Feng on his own. One is a defensive midfielder who is valued very much by Mourinho, and the other is a central defender who is regarded very little by Mourinho. It is conceivable that the defensive ability of these two people is stronger and who is weaker, so there is a reason for Matic to despise David Luiz. Once again saved Hazard's shot, which brought thunderous applause to the veteran at the Emirates Stadium. This is Hazard's shortcoming. His shooting is never at the world's top level at this time. Feng stood on the same spot and had not moved more than 5 meters for about 10 minutes. Matic has gradually relaxed his vigilance. However, he is loose on the outside and tight on the inside. In fact, he has thought about how he should defend if the ball comes towards Feng. In terms of defensive methods alone, Matic has already thought of 5, each of which can calmly take control of the football to his side. Chelsea's corner kick was punished by Cesc Fabregas. At this time, Feng was still squatting next to Matic. Now the outside world is also crazy about Feng's physical fitness because it is well known that Feng rarely smokes or drinks in public now, but everyone knows that this problem of his has existed since Germany's second division league. As the saying goes, a situation is easy to change, but a character is hard to change. A person who smokes and drinks constantly, his physical fitness will definitely not be good. Fans also speculated whether the goal in the first half had exhausted Feng's physical energy. The cool-down time of Feng's skill CD must have been too long. It was already 60 minutes into the second half, and the goal had already passed. It's been nearly 40 minutes and it still hasn't cooled down, still squatting on the ground. One fan joked, "Isn't it because Feng has a stomach ache and wants to go to the toilet now? Did you eat too much of the Wallace jet set, fart, Feng? How can you eat Wallace when you are so rich? At least it's McDonald's, look from a distance. If you look at it from the camera, do Matic and Feng look like Erlang Shen and Roaring Dog standing together? I can help laughing. When you say that, I really can't go back. The picture is too beautiful, I dare not look at it." Domestic fans watch this game. Except for some ancient Arsenal fans, most of them came to see Feng. Now Feng felt like he had been tapped on his acupoints. There was nothing to watch while squatting on the spot. So I can only make good-natured jokes and the barrage. If we keep playing like this, Arsenal's goal will be broken by Chelsea sooner or later. That's not necessarily the case. Although Chelsea has been shooting a lot in Arsenal's half, there are very few dangerous shots. I feel like Arsenal are about to score a goal, then we'll see. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Zanjun didn't finish this sentence. After Fabregas took the corner kick, he deliberately looked for Cahill, who was ambushing in the crowd. However, Xhaka took the lead and pushed the ball out of the penalty area at the top of the arc in the penalty area. Cazorla didn't even have time to turn around when facing the goal, so he just used the instep of his foot to flick the ball to the side. At this time, Walcott used his speed to chase the ball that was about to go out of bounds on Chelsea's side. The players are fighting for control of the football. However, the speed is still not as fast as that of little Tiger Walcott. After Walcott caught up with the ball, he stepped on the ball and knocked it back. Then, because he couldn't stop the car, he rushed out of the sideline. His action was actually quite dangerous, because he didn't know whether his teammates behind him could keep up in time. If the ball is handed back to Chelsea, Chelsea will have a numerical advantage on the wing, but here lies Arsenal's advantage. The players cooperate very well with each other. Sure enough, Walcott took the ball back, but he rushed out of bounds. The Arsenal players wearing red and white jerseys behind him had already caught up. This is also a very fast player. Bellerin, who came out of Barcelona's youth training, caught up with the ball and directly made a long-distance transfer because on the other side, Sanchez was cutting in at high speed. However, because the ball was passed directly without stopping, Bellerin did not master the teaching method well and failed to wrap up the ball. The football came flying towards Feng. Feng stood up immediately and came to do business. It shocked Matic next to him. It was like when I was stroking, a person suddenly emerged from the grass. Feng had been squatting for a long time, which made people wonder if his legs were numb. Suddenly it jumped up. However, Matic is very experienced, especially in position selection. He is very precise. He immediately stretches his legs and stops the weak point with one step. His judgment is much more accurate than David Luiz, and he stretched out his hand to block Feng, just like a wall, blocking Feng behind him. Feng saw that Matic's position was indeed very good. Even if he jumped up from behind, he couldn't reach it. However, Feng didn't intend to jump. He just gave a little strength behind him. Matic felt that Feng was trying to grab the position. Matic stuck out his butt and easily resisted Feng, feeling very disdainful. Boy, that's it? It's so easy. However, when the football came to this guy here, Feng suddenly used Haaland's bull crash. The strength suddenly increased a lot. Suddenly Matic felt that he was being leaned on by someone else. But it was a diesel tractor, which was pushed open all of a sudden. Feng didn't stop the ball and didn't give Matic a chance to react. He fell directly to the ground and made a hook pass that didn't jump. Sanchez saw Feng's action and quickly judged the direction of Feng's pass. He also lamented in his heart and wanted to sprint again, but this is a very good opportunity to score a goal, Sanchez shouted in his heart. Fight for it. He kicked off his feet and rushed quickly in the direction of Feng's pass, increasing his speed to the fastest without leaving any room. Matic turned around and the football had been passed out by Feng at this time. Matic immediately complained to the referee. Chapter 220. Urgent. He committed a foul. He must have used his hands. He didn't use his hands. How could he push me? The referee simply ignored it and continued to run forward. At this time, Sanchez had already entered the penalty area and hit Courtois with a low shot. However, Courtois did a half split and stretched out his leg to block Sanchez's shot. At this time, Feng had already arrived, easily scored a goal. Matic was still chattering behind the referee, but the referee took out a yellow card to shut him up. At this time, slow motion was played on the big screen, starting from when Feng caught the ball. As expected, Feng's resistance did not use other parts of his body at all. Both the men looked significantly bigger with Matic, but Feng still squeezed him away easily. Feng seemed to be jogging carelessly after passing the ball, like a retired old man getting up for morning exercises. However, after Sanchez's shot was blocked by Courtois, he happened to reach the place where Feng ran. It looks like a pure leak. It's said that Feng can't move. I think his movement is very intelligent. What do you think? Guidance. Zhang Zonjun is not a professional football person. Generally speaking, their commentary style is based on Bowenkiangmani. Lord, for example, it seems that there is a former world football star, or a star of a certain team, or a family member of a certain player, and there must be a history of the two teams' confrontation. What records have been there, what have been. Zonjun can know all the grudges and statistics of a player. However, he rarely commented on the team's tactics and a player's specific tactical role and ability on the court, leaving these to the more professional Zhang He. It has to be said that these two people complement each other very well in this regard. Zhang He laughed as usual and said, in my opinion, Feng is a very smart player. He has a strong ability to read the game. Some players seem to be active and run around the court, but they have no purpose. People are chasing the ball, and Feng's choices are more efficient. From the fact that he can get this supplementary shot, we can know that his judgment is accurate. After being annoyed for a long time, he still let Feng score 2 goals. Chelsea. The players were a little speechless. Conte didn't know what to say on the sidelines. In fact, there were more Chelsea players in the penalty area for this ball, but most of them were watching the ball but not the people. There were David Luiz, Cahill, Pedro, Azpilicueta and Conte in the penalty area. As a result, after Sanchez's shot, the ball was blocked by Courtois with his foot. There was only The wind is alone. If Feng was just lucky, then why didn't he run somewhere else, somewhere where the football was likely to be ejected? Therefore, Director Zhang's explanation is very convincing to the fans. Of course, Feng knew that he was just trying his luck, and his current average increase in attribute points was not strong enough to predict such a situation. I just planned to take over after entering the penalty area. What if Sanchez doesn't have a good shot opportunity? What if he comes up with an inverted triangle? The result was a miss, and the football just bounced over, and it was still slightly floating, which met the needs of Feng's volleying skills. This should not be underestimated. After all, there are many players who can beat an empty goal. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. After conceding 2 goals in the away game, the entire Chelsea team was very frustrated. Not to mention facing Arsenal. Even if you lose 2 goals against a relegation team and want to recover and reverse and win, it is quite difficult. Why is it so exciting to come back and win? It's because it's difficult, especially when Arsenal has Feng. I don't know why this guy is so annoying. Generally speaking, if someone can score twice against a defense like Chelsea, everyone can only respect and admire him. But Feng scored these 2 goals, which always gave Chelsea players a feeling of mismatch, as if Feng had stolen 2 goals instead of relying on his true ability. Indeed, Feng was already surrounded by so many people at Chelsea. There were so many defensive players who deliberately targeted Feng and still managed to score a goal. It really makes people angry. In the next game, when defending Feng, Chelsea's players inevitably moved a little too much, and Feng is not a very tough player. Shovel me, right? Wherever I fall, I lie down. Feng didn't perform either. It's not like some players who roll around on the ground 5 or 6 times after being knocked down. Even if he fell to the ground in a serious manner, he didn't ask the referee for a card. He just lay there with no one to pull him, and he didn't get up for a long time. The referee couldn't call the penalty yet, so Su Feng stalled for time. After all, Su Feng didn't lie down on the ground by himself, he was put down by someone else. Seeing that Su Feng's figure was knocked down, he still looked a little embarrassed, but after lying down, I look very relaxed. There's a kind of cow grazing on the hillside, lying there leisurely looking at the blue sky and white clouds. If there is another piece of dog-tail grass in its mouth, it will be more realistic. Arsenal were not in a hurry anyway, leading 2-0 at home. Especially the opponent is a cross-city rival in London, who is also a strong team, so what's there to be anxious about? As time goes by, there is indeed not much time left for Chelsea. Conte played all 3 cards in his hand. All substitution quotas have been used up, and the same is true for Arsenal. Sanchez was replaced by Iwobi, and Arsenal continued to increase their speed in counter-attack. At this time, Su Feng retreated towards his own half. It looks a bit like he is trying to help his team's defense. The Chelsea defensive players who had been keeping an eye on Su Feng didn't know what to do for a moment. If they follow up, then Arsenal's 2 wide players Walcott and Iwobi will have more space to sprint. If he didn't follow him, he didn't know what kind of tricks Su Feng would play. David Luiz took a few steps forward, especially Arsenal's midfielder, when he handed the ball to Su Feng. David Luiz also ran directly to the midfield, trying to take advantage of his height and long legs to poke the ball away from Su Feng. Su Feng is not short either. He could keep David Luiz away with just a push of his butt. Even if he extended his legs, he could not reach the football in front of Su Feng. Su Feng didn't want to control the ball. He was too tired to turn around, so he directly passed a ball to Cazorla, who was facing the opponent's goal. After receiving the ball, Cazorla passed it to the other side to Xhaka. At this time, David Luiz saw that he could not destroy the ball and ran back quickly, and Su Feng followed him. Chapter 221. Carry elegance to the end. Xhaka sent a direct pass to Su Feng's feet. Luiz just turned around, preparing to double-team Su Feng with Cantor, but Su Feng took advantage of the ball not stopping well. The angle of the ball bouncing on the spot, volleyed the ball directly to the right side of the team road. Walcott cuts in at high speed. After getting the ball, he goes directly into the penalty area. However, Cahill filled the position very quickly and got directly stuck in Walcott's path. At this time, Su Feng slowly ran into the penalty area and raised his right hand high. Of course, Su Feng did not expect that Walcott would definitely see him at this time anyway. There are 3 dates but no dates after all. I am a junior and have just arrived at Arsenal this season. Do I still expect that the very senior players in the team will make cakes for me? From that position, Walcott could hit the goal even if he swayed slightly at an angle. Su Feng was ready to concentrate on looking for an angle to see if he could get another follow-up shot. Although the system does not give Su Feng the ability to predict, Su Feng often plays luck and can tell where the ball will basically land if the shot is taken anyway. Just try your luck. However, Walcott saw Su Feng through the cracks in the crowd. Su Feng scored 2 goals in a row in this game, and he has actually won the trust of his teammates. Except for a few narrow-minded people who were sent to the reserve team, the other players also have a good sense of Su Feng. Walcott made a cross pass and forced the ball from Caceres into the middle of the penalty area. Su Feng saw the ball coming and immediately prepared to shoot, but at this moment, a figure squeezed in from behind like a mountain of treacherous rocks. David Luiz has already been eyeing Su Feng. Su Feng, although he used the action of back-testing to throw away the defensive players who were staring at him, but once Su Feng re-entered Chelsea's half, David Luiz stopped staring at everyone else and focused exclusively on Su Feng. He secretly made up his mind that even if Su Feng went to the bathroom, he would follow him to the bathroom door. So as soon as Su Feng entered Chelsea's penalty area, David Luiz was watching eagerly from the side. Walcott was afraid that his pass would be blocked by Cahill, so when he swept to the center of the penalty area and passed to Su Feng, he used a lot of force and passed the ball very fast. This kind of ball is actually not very easy to kick. It is easy to miss the right part of the ball, resulting in all kinds of outrageous shots. Su Feng did not have any relevant skills in his skill library at this time. When the football flew toward him at high speed, he wanted to accurately wrap the football and hide him into the blind spot of the goal. It must meet the relevant conditions for Van Persie's volley, otherwise it can only be calculated based on Su Feng's current attributes. Even Cristiano Ronaldo would miss this kind of ball sometimes. What's more, Su Feng's attributes are barely up to the level of a starter in the Premier League. However, there is a huge difference between being a starter to avoid relegation in the Premier League and a starter for a strong team in the Premier League at this time. Su Feng also felt that he was preventing students from attacking from behind. In addition, Cahill saw that Walcott had penetrated his crotch and jumped back in the midst of lightning. Su Feng had to make accurate judgments. Don't let me shoot, right? Then I won't shoot. At that moment, Su Feng also made a quick judgment. At this time, instead of turning the kick into a joke, it would be better to make a kick even if you make a mistake. It's better than missing a shot. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. What's more, Su Feng also felt that David Luiz was close to him and he also wants to cause harm. This prevents players from making the offensive player slightly unbalanced by exerting force on his hands at a moment when the offensive player shoots. For offensive players, this has a huge impact on the accuracy of their shots, so Su Feng stretched out his foot and did the opposite. He planned to follow the direction of the ball and use the instep of his outside foot to pick the ball to the other side. As long as Iwobi was not a fool and followed it, he would definitely be able to eat the cake. If he doesn't come over, then the fans should feel that everyone is not cooperating well on this goal. Iwobi has not yet formed a tacit understanding with Su Feng. Naturally, Su Feng didn't have to act ugly and it could end perfectly in the end. Su Feng's idea was very good, but his footwork was a bit unsatisfactory. After all, he could barely reach the passing mark of 80, and he was not qualified to play all kinds of tricks at will. The idea was that he was at Ronaldinho's level, but the result was that he was at the level of Cambodian Ronaldinho. Su Feng's foot kicked the lower part of the football. He didn't pass the ball in another direction behind him. Instead, it seemed to rub the ball, like shaving it in a table tennis game. It spins backwards, but not very fast. At the same time, the distance is not far, but this action did shake David Luiz. Originally, he thought Su Feng could use it. He shot with his right foot. After all, Su Feng was facing the goal sideways, facing the sideline, but he didn't expect Su Feng to pick the ball back with his left foot. The football suddenly went behind David Luiz. As soon as Su Feng made a move, he knew something was wrong. If I had known earlier, I might as well have taken a shot. However, he reacted quickly. He first saw the look in Cahill's eyes and knew the approximate direction of the ball. Then he used his right foot as a pivot to make a quick turn. Unexpectedly, after turning around, the football was actually right in front of me, and it was still off the ground. Su Feng didn't hesitate. He decisively raised his left foot and fired a volley. You will know it when you kick the ball on your feet very comfortable. After finishing the shot, Su Feng put his hands on his hips and looked up to the sky laughing. He also said that he was not the son of destiny. It was obviously a mistake, but he still found a chance to score another goal. It's already a hat trick. Beautiful. Su Feng conquered Chelsea. He performed a hat trick on his own, and the proud Chelsea generals had to bow down. As the saying goes, others laugh at me because I am too crazy, but I laugh at others who cannot see through it. Su Feng is a bit on the court. You're lazy, but as long as you can score goals. Zhang Jun looked proud and praised Su Feng in the studio. Zhang He was also happy from ear to ear. Domestic fans on the internet are going crazy. Did I read that right? This ball was so exciting. It tasted a bit like Ice Prince Bergkamp's classic game. Damn it, it looked like Su Feng was just holding back and kicking. I didn't expect that he could score. 3 goals for Chelsea. It's totally effortless. It's great. Watching domestic players play makes me feel happy. Wu Kao? When Su Feng scored the second goal, I shouted too loud and knocked me out. My dad woke me up. I thought I was going to get beaten. But my dad was watching with me. When Su Feng scored a hat trick just now, my dad shouted louder than me. He said he wanted to have a drink with me to celebrate. I have to go to school tomorrow. Chapter 222. Garbage time. Oh my god, Su Feng, I never tire of this goal. Is the Puskas Award scheduled for this year? The barrage of fans swiped their screens in an instant, like the Yellow River flooding, out of control. Suddenly the live broadcast screen was invisible at this time. The Blue Army generals were also dejected. Courtois could still feel that he could touch the previous ball, but this ball immediately made him despair. Every step was beyond his expectation. At first, Courtois used his skillful pace to block the entrance and prevent Walcott from shooting. As a result, Walcott passed a ball. He quickly slid and moved slightly towards the middle of the goal to prevent the Arsenal player in the penalty area from hitting another corner. As a result, the Asian kid didn't know whether to stop the ball, pass the ball, or shoot. Anyway, he just poked his foot. The ball turned 180 degrees around David Luiz's body. The Asian kid also turned around and fired a volley. The action was really incredible, and it was also quite concealed. Su Feng's turn was blocked by David Luiz, and the distance was extremely close. This was a few meters in front of the 12-yard area. Su Feng fired a volley with great power. Courtois really had no way to react in time to save. He just stretched out his hand in vain to touch the air, and then watched the ball hit the net, making the net fly. Surprisingly, the little-known Asian boy scored 3 goals and performed a hat-trick. Courtois felt that his confidence had been severely hit after Su Feng scored. David Luiz didn't react immediately. Only after hearing the cheers of Arsenal's home fans did he know that Su Feng had scored again. Matic was also deeply shocked. What is this? This kid has been walking there, and even when he ran into the penalty area, he was not sprinting. He had no motivation to get rid of his defender. It's completely like a person who goes to work to catch fish and is ready to clock out, but in the end he still doesn't score. It can be said that Su Feng was lucky to pick up the ball just now, but how to explain this ball? This is too awesome. Many people will never score such a goal in their lifetime, let alone scoring such a goal. Even if they have seen it, they have never seen it a few times. Could it be that this Asian guy is a master of pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger, hiding his secrets? His talent is only so good, yet he is still hiding and teasing him on the court. This is too insidious. The entire Emirates Stadium was filled with the sound of Arsenal fans shouting Su Feng's name, Su, Su, Su. Those who didn't know thought it was Ronaldo celebrating his goal. The next game round falls into garbage time. After Su Feng scored a hat-trick, he was slightly excited for a while. Running on the court is still so lazy. It's still like taking a walk after a meal. But now no one would talk about Su Feng's habit anymore again. As long as you can score goals. As long as you can score goals and you lie down on the court, the head coach will still treat you like an uncle. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Since Arsenal had already used up all the substitution places, Wenger could not replace Su Feng and let him accept the applause of the fans. He could only wait until the game was over. In garbage time, Chelsea had no intention of attacking. The same goes for Arsenal, who have no intention of continuing to score goals. As the saying goes, you have to be merciful and merciful. Now we are launching an attack. What if Chelsea's players have an unbalanced mentality and give you a foul to prevent you from being injured? Time ran out quickly, and the referee only gave 2 minutes of injury time, and in the first minute, more than 50 seconds, and less than 2 minutes later, he blew the whistle to end the game. It was obvious that neither team had any intention of changing the situation on the field. There's no point in continuing to waste it. It's better to clock in earlier and go back to the locker room to take a shower after get off work. Cesc Fabregas may be the saddest one in this game. He was also the prince of Arsenal. At a young age, he became the captain of Arsenal at the age of 20. However, he was bewitched by his former Barcelona teammates during the Champions League final. After the game, Pique and others put a Barcelona jersey on Fabregas. This also made Fabregas prefer to leave Arsenal and join Barcelona at his own expense. However, this decision brought an abrupt end to the growth of Cesc Fabregas, who is in the midst of his rapid rise. This time they returned to Arsenal's home court, and Arsenal explained that they would not look down upon the traitors, and Chelsea's performance in this game was so unsatisfactory. Fabregas also played without any sense of presence during the game. As soon as he got the ball, the whole stadium was booed, but he had nothing to say. He betrayed the fans who once cheered for him, and these fans no longer need Fabregas because they have Su Feng. At this time, Fabregas was walking towards the players' tunnel. He saw Su Feng passionately embracing Wenger. The two were chatting and laughing, and their faces were full of joy. I don't know why Fabregas, who has been saying that he does not regret his decision back then, feels a little tight in his chest. That French elegant old man was once as important a figure in his life as his father, but now Wenger's eyes swept across Cesc Fabregas's body. As if looking at a stranger. It was completely different from the way he smiled when he looked at Su Feng, as if the sun in the world was shining brightly on his face. Fabregas also had mixed feelings now. Although Fabregas has won the league championship with a team at Chelsea, he is just a mercenary now. It is no longer possible for the fans to love him from the bottom of their hearts. Before entering the tunnel, Fabregas sighed and walked into the shadow of the tunnel. At this time, the world separated Fabregas from Su Feng. There is no doubt that Su Feng had no suspense in this game and won the MVP of this game. After celebrating the victory with the fans, Su Feng was intercepted by the media in the mixed interview area. After observing Su Feng up close, the reporters couldn't help but sigh. People are really different. Look at the other players, whether they are from Arsenal or Chelsea, all of them are sweating profusely. Put the wet jersey on your shoulders. Su Feng didn't even mess up his hair. And there wasn't a drop of sweat on his body. Those who didn't know thought that Su Feng didn't play at all in this game. Wow. Matic, Cunt and David Luiz on the opposite side couldn't stop me today. I didn't expect you to stop me. Chapter 223. Trouble breaks out. A joke with a very low laugh point also made the reporters in the media burst into laughter. They had no choice but to get news from Su Feng now, so they had to please Su Feng. Even if Su Feng told a cold joke, they would still laugh. Smile and cheer up. You scored 3 goals in this game and performed very well, but the fans said you were too lazy on the court. What do you think? The coach sent me on the field. The important thing is to help the team win the game. Instead of letting me run around on the court, if the fans just want to see someone running on the court, I suggest them to watch the track and field competition. The athletes will never stop until the finish line. Su Feng ignored the Arsenal press officer said freely. Su Feng wasn't even interested in talking about the cliches that the press officer told him. Since he was being interviewed, he naturally wanted to talk about some topics that reporters would like to hear, so that there would be traffic. As a superstar, he not only has to show off his skills on the court, but also generate some traffic, so that he can quickly expand his fan base with strong support. This is the quick way to quickly increase your status. Are you saying that the fans' accusations against you are unreasonable? Su Feng shook his head. The fans are always right. I will accept their opinions with an open mind, but I will not change it because this is my personal style. The first half of Su Feng's words was nothing, but the second half almost made reporters lose their waists. Shine God accepts it humbly, but he won't change it. You don't even change it, so why do you still accept it humbly? Recently few people have seen you smoking or drinking. Have you given up smoking and drinking now? Guess? Okay, I won't tell you anymore. Play with a top team like Chelsea. After such a fierce game, I was really exhausted and I have to go back to the locker room to rest. Su Feng also answered the question. The media could not keep Su Feng here, but this excuse was too bad. Come on, what does it mean to play such a fierce game and you didn't even break a sweat? Could it be that, as the rumors say, while other people use up their physical strength to play football, you, Su Feng, use up your mental energy to play football? Right, there was nothing to say when he returned to the locker room. Although Su Feng was the last one to go back, he was the first to leave because he didn't need to take a shower. I really didn't sweat after winning this game. Wenger gave the team a day off to let everyone have a good rest. Su Feng went to the parking lot to pick up the car and quickly took out a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of wine from the glove box. Take a puff of cigarette and take a sip of wine. It's too difficult to improve attributes. It's not allowed to smoke or drink in front of others yet, so Su Feng has to seize this rare opportunity in a private space. After finishing the drink, I suddenly thought, wouldn't this be considered drunk driving? So Su Feng could only get out of the car, leave it in the parking lot of the stadium, and go out to take a taxi. As a result, he was discovered by a group of fans. It has to be said that Su Feng, even though he was wearing a baseball cap and a mask, was still discovered by the fans in desperation. I signed autographs for the fans for half an hour, and my wrists almost cramped. Okay, my name has been signed and the group photo has been taken. Can you tell me how you found me when I was wearing a baseball cap and a mask? Because of the way you walked on the court. The postures are exactly the same, very unique. Anyone who is a senior Arsenal fan can spot it at a glance. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Su Feng, pretending to be together is of no use at all since he had already drank and couldn't drive, and he still had a day off tomorrow. Su Feng simply asked the driver to take him to the bar. It was still the same French house as last time, and Su Feng quite liked this bar now because I came here purely for drinking. Unlike other bars where the music was very loud, every beat of the drum was like hitting Su Feng's heart. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack when I drink alcohol. It's much quieter here, and there are people here drinking and chatting. After more than 2 years of training, Su Feng now drinks like water, and he drinks a lot. After a while, I drank half a pound of brandy, the kind without ice. Adding ice cubes is for the taste, not adding ice cubes is for improving skills and making it rise faster. However, this bar does not play music, and there are no other entertainment items. People who come here are just chatting, and they are not even allowed to use mobile phones. Su Feng's task today is to drink 2 kilograms, then go home and smoke for an hour, and then go to bed. While he was drinking, a gust of fragrant wind suddenly hid him, and a soft voice sounded in Su Feng's ears. Are you alone? Why don't you buy me a drink and I'll chat with you? Su Feng didn't even look back. Security, someone is harassing me. The tall and round security guard took a step forward, and the woman next to him left angrily. Hearing that the woman seemed to be walking away, Su Feng turned his head and glanced away. He saw that she had a good figure, but she was also pretty. But Su Feng really didn't have time to deal with women now. I spend my spare time every day smoking and drinking, So I don't have time to spend more money now. He is in a period of struggle, a period of rising career, and women will only affect the power and accuracy of Su Feng's shooting. When Su Feng becomes successful and famous, he won't be able to get everything he wants. In fact, some types of things that are just out of reach will be within easy reach when the time comes. It won't be a problem to acquire a Middle Eastern nationality and marry 4 wives in the midst of his lust. Su Feng finished his share of the drink 10 minutes early. After paying the bill, he left the bar. When he was about to call a taxi, he suddenly heard an imperceptible cry for help from the alley next to him. Su Feng went over and saw 2 burly men robbing a young girl. This kind of thing is really common in London. After all, it is already very late. It's no different abroad than at home. In China, when you go out at 10:00, the nightlife has just begun. If you go out at 10:00 in a foreign country and you are still walking, the probability of encountering a robbery is equivalent to the probability of encountering a barbecue stall in China. Even a big city like London is no exception. Su Feng took out his mobile phone and dialed 110 first. Then he remembered that he was in England now, and then pressed 999. He explained the situation while walking, and after finishing speaking, he got in the car and left. If you call the police when something like this happens, you have already done your best. But are you really going to do something brave? Su Feng was just a player, not Bruce Lee. He had a clear conscience and slept soundly at home, but there was trouble the next day, because the Sun published a gossip. The famous football star Su Feng refused to save him. The Polish girl was robbed in the back alley of the bar, but Su Feng turned a blind eye and left quickly. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224. New skills. At this time, Su Feng had no intention of paying attention to the gossip on the internet. Instead, he stared at his system panel with a smile on his face. It turns out that if you make a scene outside the venue, you can also get a small gift package issued by the system. At this time, a skill gift package was quietly staying in Su Feng's system space. Open. Su Feng gave the order in his mind. A white light flashed as the skill gift pack opened, and countless black, gold and silver footballs flashed in front of Su Feng. Su Feng has no specific requirements for which level of skills he has. This is equivalent to picking it up for free, and it is so hard to accumulate a cool value when redeemed. Now, because of a little thing outside the field, I accidentally got a skill gift pack, which is simply equivalent to picking up gold nuggets on the ground. Su Feng can accept any skill level. A golden light flashed. A golden skill shone in front of Su Feng's eyes. Absolute ball feel. Although it was just a golden skill, Su Feng was very satisfied with the skill itself. The main reason is that it is too difficult to accumulate attribute points. You see, Su Feng is quite prosperous on the court now. Su Feng was able to score key goals in many important games, but in fact Su Feng also missed some opportunities. At the same time, the previous scoring opportunities also had a bit of luck, mainly because Su Feng had just landed in the Premier League and did not have many opportunities yet. The team researched him. When other clubs paid more and more attention to Su Feng, their research on Su Feng became more and more thorough. Su Feng must acquire more skills and have more ways to play football in order to resolve other people's targets. Therefore, Su Feng urgently needs to improve his abilities quickly. This skill will undoubtedly bring a lot of benefits to Su Feng. Among the skills Su Feng has obtained before, Van Persie's volley is more suitable. Now Su Feng must try to get more in every game. The demand for chick value skills like Holland's are still somewhat unrealistic under this situation. Su Feng had to develop Van Persie's volley to the fullest, enough to score more goals on the court and send more exquisite passes, but there are still shortcomings in the attribute points. If the volley skill is not triggered, the accuracy of Su Feng's shooting, passing, and even ball stopping cannot be guaranteed. After all, when shooting, passing or even stopping the ball, it is not only related to one's own technical ability, but also to the passing level of teammates and the interference of defensive players. Even De Bruyne and Messi dare not say that he has perfect passes, but now that he has this absolute sense of ball, Su Feng's situation will be much better. The so-called ball feel refers to a football player's comprehensive perception of the shape, elasticity, hardness, weight, force required to touch the ball, speed, height and direction changes of the ball during running, etc. during long-term training. Ability. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. This is the result of a certain amount of talent and acquired training, being able to form a very complex neural connection in the cerebral cortex. Among Su Feng's original attribute points, It is specifically reflected in technology. For example, Su Feng's passing is 80 points, and Su Feng's skills are 100 points. That is, if there is no interference, that is to say, Su Feng has an 80% chance of passing the ball and reaching the position he wants. If the technology is 90 points, then the probability is about 72. But now that Su Feng has an absolute sense of the ball, he has an extremely accurate judgment on the trajectory of the football. The power he needs to use when touching the ball, passing the ball, and shooting it is equivalent to directly improving Su Feng's technical ability to a maximum of approximately 120 points. Although this personnel will be affected by interference from defensive players, as well as the accuracy and strength of his own players' passes, which will fluctuate. However, there is no doubt that it can greatly enhance Su Feng's chick football playing style. A well-matched skill is better than a powerful but useless skill. Su Feng just got a skill, but he was also very itchy. He took a football and went to the yard outside the apartment to practice. It has to be said that Su Feng now has an absolute sense of ball control over football to a higher level. I almost feel like football is a part of my body. Su Feng was having so much fun that he had already forgotten all the nonsense on the internet. A media did publish the incident about Su Feng, but most netizens still support Su Feng. After all, the first thing to do when encountering a gangster is to call the police. Su Feng is just a professional player. He is not a Superman. If you can call the police, you have fulfilled your obligation. After all, Su Feng also wanted to ensure his own safety after playing against Chelsea. Su Feng scored a hat-trick, and the next game was at home against Basel, a team in the Swiss Super League. The opponent in this game is not very strong, and it is a home game. Wenger did not let Su Feng play. For a team like Arsenal, one of the main players may play more than 50 games in a year. Therefore, one of the functions that a head coach of a wealthy team needs to possess most is rotation. For those head coaches who like to use a fixed lineup, it will be ugly if the team suffers injuries and eventually dies. The head coach of a weak team can achieve good results under the leadership of a mid to lower team, but after joining a wealthy team, he will fall quickly because he cannot rotate. I won't play multi-line games, and it's not just the inability to get big-name players to obey orders in the locker room. Wenger has been coaching Arsenal for more than 20 years. There are 3 lines every year, and 4 lines are no stranger to this. Arsenal suffers more injuries every year, mainly because Arsenal's bench is not thick enough, and there is a big gap in the strength of the substitute players compared to the main players. But professors still have their own ideas about rotation facing such a weak opponent in Basel. Wenger didn't let Su Feng play either. Originally this was just a very ordinary rotation among the team. But in the eyes of the media and the fans, it's completely different. After seeing the roster for Arsenal's game against Basel came out, there were a lot of different opinions. Su Feng didn't even make the squad for this game. That incident won't have such a big impact on Su Feng, right? It's obviously just a very reasonable rotation. Don't think too much. Su Feng will join the team this season. After playing a lot of games, Basel's strength in this game is limited, so it's normal to rotate. Chapter 225. Falling out of favor. Since Su Feng was unable to attend this game, the ratings for the game between Arsenal and Swiss Super League Basel on the internet also plummeted. Except for some die-hard Arsenal fans and drug addicts, most people chose to have a good sleep. Anyway, when they woke up, it was another victory. The result was as expected. Arsenal easily defeated the visiting Basel team 2-0 at home. As a result, Arsenal easily ranked first in the standings in the Champions League group stage with 6 points from 2 games. The qualifying form of the group was very optimistic, but a few days later, Arsenal went away to play Burnley. Until 1 hour before the start of the game, the media got Arsenal's starting lineup, but they were very surprised to find that Su Feng still did not appear in the starting lineup. Although Su Feng has already entered the squad, Wenger put Su Feng on the bench for this game. At the same time, a long-lost familiar name 272 also appeared in the starting list. In any case, the German holds the highest salary in the Arsenal team. If he is only on leave in the reserve team, it would be a bit too cheap for him. Wenger also plans to let 272 play a few games and perform well after Christmas. England's winter transfer window opened, so that he could be dealt with, and at least some money could be recovered, and at the same time, enough salary could be freed up. But it's different in the eyes of the media and fans. Everyone knew before that 272 had conflicts with Su Feng. Why is it that 272 is now in the starting lineup again quietly? 272 also came on as a substitute against Basel in the last game, but Su Feng became the substitute. Is there some unknown secret happening in the Arsenal team? For a while, the media and fans were also eager to gossip, and domestic fans couldn't help but worry about Feng, although Zonjun learned from his friends that this was just the most normal rotation in the Arsenal team. There was no need for Arsenal, a mid to lower team like Burnley, to send all its main players, and this news was obtained from Arsenal's team reporters. However, such ordinary news cannot attract the attention of fans at all, and fans still have a tendency to seek novelties. I always wonder if Feng was protested by the London feminist organization because of what happened in the bar last time. Arsenal had no choice but to compromise. Although such nonsense news seems completely illogical, many fans still choose to believe it. After all, over the years, foreign feminist organizations have become more and more abstract. It has led many girls in the country astray, so netizens are naturally more inclined to accept such an answer. As the saying goes, if you open your mouth to spread rumors, you will lose your legs if you refute them. Of course, Feng did not make any clarification after learning about these situations. He wanted to take a look. There are such rumors in the news media. Will you bring yourself another gift bag? As for what others say about him, he doesn't care at all. He only has one thing on his mind now, and that is to quickly improve his strength. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. In the Premier League, it doesn't matter if a wealthy team has a starter, a main force, or a core player. Feng is the man who wants to be the king of green. No matter how hard you try, you will get old. In the past 2 years, Burnley can be said to have been promoted to the Premier League. Burnley were relegated from the Premier League last season, but just 1 year later, they won the British Championship and were promoted to the Premier League again. Dyche, the coach of Burnley, is a leader among the young generation of local coaches in England. Although this team is a newly promoted team, it still has considerable experience in the Premier League. Moreover, the coaching staff also has their own way of doing things, and they belong to the new generation of coaches who are very thoughtful, like Bournemouth's young coach Eddie Howe. He is a new generation of young English local coaches that the English Football Association is optimistic about. Of course, Dyche is not most famous for this, but for the rumors that he eats earthworms. Although Dyche has always explained that it is just rumors, the first impression fans have when talking about Dyche is that he likes to squat on the side of the court and dig up earthworms. After digging up the earthworms, he will eat them immediately. Coupled with his image as a serial killer, the picture is too beautiful to look at. Turf Moor, Burnley's home stadium, is not very large and can only accommodate a mere 20,000 spectators. Although Arsenal's home stadium does not accommodate many fans, only more than 50,000, it is twice the size of Turf Moor Stadium. I am used to seeing big scenes when I come to this kind of stadium. Even though it is an away game, Arsenal's players will not perform abnormally. The only restriction is the Burnley team stadium. Burnley have trimmed their home ground before the start of this season. It's one way of playing in the English Championship, but it's a different way of playing after coming to the Premier League. In the English Championship, you need to score more goals and win more wins before you can be promoted to the Premier League. However, if you want to successfully avoid relegation in the Premier League, you need to defend in a defensive position most of the time, so it is natural to cut a pitch at this time. According to FIFA regulations, the minimum width of a football field is 64 meters, which is 70 yards, and the longest is 75 meters, which is 82 yards. Burnley wants to successfully avoid relegation in the Premier League. When facing a strong team, it is natural to focus on defense, so the width of their home court is the smallest, 64 meters. It just doesn't allow those strong teams to open up space in their home court and make full use of the width of the field. This also brings greater density to their defense, denying the visiting strong teams a more convenient attack on their goal. But at the same time, Burnley made their pitch longer. According to FIFA regulations, the maximum length of a football field is 110 meters. The shortest is 100 meters. The length of Burnley's home stadium is the longest at 110 meters. Obviously, this is a level that is very conducive to defensive counterattacks. This long length stretches the attacking team's defense. It also allows the defensive team to provide enough space for counterattacks. Allowing the court surface to be tailored to the team's tactics is one of the aspects of home field advantage. Arsenal is a technical football team. The home stadium has always been very wide, and Arsenal's players are accustomed to utilizing the width of the stadium. Pull the defender apart and then attack the weak link. But after arriving at Burnley's home court, we have to face the smallest stadium. Arsenal's front court does not have any particularly tall players who are particularly advantageous in competing for headers. Therefore, although Arsenal's ball possession rate reached 75 in the first half of the game, but there was no way to break through Burnley's goal. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.